Good morning again. My apology that we had to start 15 minutes later. We were waiting for other people that are in the program. But I just want to say thank you to you, all of you here and in the online, for your patience. But not only your patience, but you being here, attending this meeting. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Because the Bible says, don't despise little things. They grow to be bigger things. They tend to be bigger things. This will be a movement, a Southern African region movement of economic empowerment. Even though we're focusing on women, but it will eventually include our children, young persons and persons with disabilities, eventually everyone in the Southern African region will be empowered, because Southern African region on its own, it's wealthy, it is endowed with resources, with minerals, it has land, huge land. That's why some people leave from their countries and come here around to build in our countries and take all those things, because we have the land. How are we going to make sure that we work together in order for us to grow? How are we going to work together in order for us to be able to grow, all of us to grow together? If you grow alone, you collapse somewhere or you break, but if we grow together, we'll definitely grow. We'll also be able to be strong against the external factors that affect our inflation and all those things. So as indicated yesterday, for now, I want a recap on what was said, because a lot has been said, a lot of beautiful things, and which will lead to us starting to work together. But when we started, I indicated that South Africa is not taking the responsibility of the SADC gender desk, the Secretariat of SADC, and South Africa is not taking the responsibility of Zimbabwe, which is the current chair. South Africa is just facilitating a meeting amongst the SADC countries so that we can be able to work together economically, which would then result in implementing the policies and the frameworks and the conventions that have been developed by the SADC Secretariat. But in doing this, we still need the SADC Secretariat to assist, to work with us, and to help us to be able to work with all countries within the Southern African region. So it's very critical that we clarify that we're working together in order to ensure that women in South Africa, women in Angola, women in Zimbabwe, women in Tanzania, women in Zambia, all countries, Mozambique, Lesotho, Botswana, all women who are in business must know each other. Women must be able to know who's doing what in another country, so that if they feel we need to reinforce, we need to tender, or we need to submit a proposal, they know who they can partner with, and understanding, because also this will lead to us facilitating training. For example, in South Africa, we can facilitate training where we request the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition to present on trading in South Africa and all those. So we invite not only women in business in South Africa, but all women from the southern region, Southern African region, different things that will be having topics, maritime and all those. There is something called Indian Ocean Rim Association, which looks at the wealth in the Indian Ocean. How do we work together so that we can benefit? So that is the aim of the meeting. This is the beginning of the meeting that would really look into that. And with the assistance of the SADC region, the SADC gender desk, it will really have to assist us to be able to achieve this, and it can be able to report about the achievements of the region in terms of implementing the policies and the frameworks and the strategies that it has developed. The Secretariat presented yesterday, and they presented on the frameworks that we are trying to make sure that now they are implemented in the physical. So that's what we're trying to do. But also, we would like to convene other webinars. This is the first webinar. As I had said, I tried to call my colleague, Dr. Sibanda, because the last time when we spoke, she had offered that Zimbabwe can host the webinar, but I'm not putting her under pressure. We have 9 countries here, including South Africa. Any country can offer that in September, because I'm trying to push so that every month we bring other government departments, we discuss, we come up with a strategy, so that when now we go to the AFCFTA, we have, a strong program where even when we ask funding, we know what funding we're asking for. But also, I want us to continue having webinars, because at the end of the day, this process has to be owned by women in businesses in our countries, but also other women in our countries that are unemployed and whatever. They will have now to be able to start their own businesses with the understanding. So we'll be training women to understand about starting the businesses, tax issues, financial issues, and all those things. Also, we would like the countries within the Southern African region, more especially the departments of women, to work with those women to create databases of women in business in those countries with their details and all those, so that even with us in South Africa and all the associations within, like women associations and all those, and we will combine it to be one database, or create links so that there are links. A woman in business in South Africa can be able to, through the link, see the database of another country, and be able to know. We put them according to sectors: mining, maritime, construction, and all those things, so that women in construction can be able to find other women in transport, in all those. And then we'll create a bigger a database with everyone else. I would like to suggest that we do it as soon as possible. We'll have to agree on the database, on the time frame to start creating the database. But also, we need to develop a plan of action, because now this is a webinar where we are initiating. But as we attend other webinars, we need to create a plan of action in terms of exactly what are we going to do and by when. We need to explore existing information within SADC. So the SADC Secretariat must assist us also. We are requesting, we're not instructing them. We need to establish, all countries must establish business women's network at local levels from all members of state, so that it's not just at a higher level, even from local municipalities, because the local municipalities are supposed to also empower members that are in their areas. And then once we've done all that, then we'll come up with a plan of action of us going to the AFCFTA, as indicated yesterday, that we have already requested the SG of the AFCFTA to host us, and he has agreed. But we couldn't just go there as individual countries without a plan of action and whatever. We need to go there with a plan of action. When we go there, there must be at least 5 consortiums, or 6 or even 10 consortiums of women in different countries who've come together and say, we want to put up a plant. I've already indicated yesterday that fertilizers, people were talking about fertilizers. Let's establish one huge plant, and then later establish the like other plants in other countries and whatever. Let's look into that. There are many things that we need to work together in order to be able to get funding. The AFCFTA SG said he will invite the Afrexim Bank, and then we'll ask him to invite the BRICS Bank. so that women already can start there to apply. They'll tell them, how do you apply? You come with the businesses and whatever, and you say, we will need so much dollars, and apply there. That is the aim. Southern Africa will never be the region where they say HIV is so rife, children between 14 and 24 are the highest infected, and it's poor and all those things. You remember I gave you the stats yesterday. There are 5 countries. The least poor is the North Rand, which is below 3%. We're at 45. We need to change that. We really need to change that, because if we don't change that, the saying by the World Economic Forum, a global report on gender, that it will take 165 years to empower a young African girl will happen, and we will not let it happen. We have to make sure that we change that. Thank you very much. Now we are going, as we indicated, we'll share information, but also in future we'll share exactly what opportunities exist. South Africa would like to start in doing that. At some point, we'll talk to that as we go through, where we will invite DTIC and all government departments to say, these are the opportunities, these are the opportunities. Women can come together and form consortiums and bid for that, bring finances, bring expertise, bring all those things. We'll share also in terms of skills development, and others. But for now, we know that in the whole of Africa, actually in the whole of Africa, they're saying women are killed more than in other countries, even though as a continent, we are smaller than other continents, but women are being killed. So we thought, let's also share about gender-based violence. Strategies in terms of how we can eradicate gender-based violence, because even though we talk AFCFTA and cross-border trading, if women are going to be subjected to gender-based violence, they are not going to take up those opportunities. So we need to address gender-based violence in the entire Southern African region. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome also my co-chair. I will give her to chair the next one. For now, I will request, or before I call Esther, I would like to greet those that were not there yesterday, those that will be presenting now. Welcome and thank you for availing yourself to come and present. I will mention the countries that are participating here after Esther has presented. Thank you very much. Ms. Esther Maloleke, she's a Chief Director in the department who's responsible for coordinating issues of gender-based violence and social issues within the department. Thank you very much.
Jesus, how am I gonna work like this? This thing, I need my laptop. I need my laptop. I'm not presenting, but I need to look at my notes. Good morning, colleagues in the room. And I actually know that we have 71 participants online. I understand it's now 76. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you are refreshed and energized this morning to run another marathon for the day. And perhaps before I start, let me just recognize the DG, our DG, Advocate Mikateko Maluleke, permanent secretaries from SADC member states, the SADC Secretariat, government officials from the region, chairpersons of various institutions and presidents working on gender, ladies and gentlemen, and all protocol observed. So I'm going to take you through this session that focuses on gender-based violence in the Southern African region. We have a lineup of speakers, colleagues that are going to share with us the work that they are doing in their respective countries. I see here we've got a colleague from South Africa, Ms. Winnie Mama Sahara, gender focal person from the Department of Minerals, Mineral Resources and Energy. We have Mr. Henry Mkoma from Zambia, but I believe there's a representative. He's not going to be able to make it this morning, but there's a representative from Zambia that is going to talk to us. I hope he's already logged in online. And then we have Sandile Nzimande from Eswatini. And then I'm not sure about a representative from Lesotho. This Madam Futi Letsatsi. Me Futi Letsatsi. Yeah, she's here. Okay.
You just go straight into the presentation and speak to your presentation.
I'm not going to present, I just talk to you.
Just talk.
Yeah.
And then Nabla will take care of this naturally.
Oh, I just give snippets and that's what we do. Okay. So, I've got a very simple task that I need to do to just give opening remarks, and I don't have a presentation prepared, but I'll just talk from my speaking notes, colleagues, so just to say don't expect a PowerPoint presentation. I just want to make these opening remarks, and in the interest of time, let me just get to it. Okay, so I am going to talk to you about a subject that I know is very close to almost all of you's hearts. And it's an issue of great concern in our region, but in South Africa also in particular. And I'm just going to focus on the South African borders. Just to remind you that gender-based violence, and in South Africa we've actually included femicide on the acronym, the F, because we really want to highlight the scourge of femicide. We know that it's among the different types of gender-based violence, but in South Africa, highlighting femicide, for us, it's extremely critical. We just made that decision. So colleagues mustn't be surprised when you look at our national strategic plan and you saw that we specifically mentioned femicide. It's because of really the massive problem that we have in the country that many of you are aware of. But GBV, it's a human right abuse that affects women and girls globally. So it's a phenomenon that is not necessarily unique to South Africa or even the region. And it includes sexual assault, female genital mutilation, rape, forced prostitution, early marriage, and other forms of physical and psychological violence. And it disproportionately affects women and children. And protecting the rights of girls and young women with disabilities, for instance. You know, communities that are marginalized, like persons with disabilities, to make decisions about their own bodies and sexuality is very crucial in us combating violence and exploitation. So, in terms of prevalence, I think I've already alluded to the fact that the numbers are very alarming, extremely high, with women and girls being disproportionately affected. I've also made reference to types of violence that we often see in our region, including interpartner violence. I mentioned sexual violence earlier and domestic violence. And we know, especially in our region, but also South Africa as well, that the contributing factors, which are drivers, are cultural norms, economic dependency, and lack of legal protection, which contribute significantly to persistence of gender-based violence. And GBV has severe physical, psychological, and economic impact on survivors, and basically constraining them, their ability to participate fully in society, including economically. So there's been a lot of initiatives that are invested in trying to fight this scourge, which are various, including awareness campaigns, legal reforms, support services for survivors. But unfortunately, despite these investments, the challenge remains. And sometimes it feels like the more we do, the more the problem becomes bigger. It doesn't feel like we are doing the right things at the right time to actually eradicate gender-based violence. But I can assure you that whether it's government or civil society, we are all focused, very concerned about dealing with this scourge. We also have challenges in terms of data and research in as far as gender-based violence is concerned. For instance, in South Africa, for the longest of time, we have not had a prevalence study that at least can give us an idea of the extent of the problem and actually tell us where exactly to look at, places to look for. But we have relied a lot on administrative data, for instance, from crime statistics, South African Police crime statistics, National Prosecuting Authority, as well as Department of Justice. Only recently, we seem to be moving in the right direction. We are waiting with bated breath for the results of the prevalence study that is commissioned by HSRC, and we hope that finally it will help us and we can relook at the work that they are doing and help us be able to actually measure whatever efforts that we are investing in this problem. I want to just quickly, colleagues, because in the interest of time, I'm going to just really give snippets, because we can spend the whole day talking just about the work that South Africa is doing in as far as the response to gender-based violence. Some of the good practices that we are now really trying to escalate and fast track. You will know very well that we have developed what we call the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence. And I'm not going to go into the history again in the interest of time. In 2020, it was launched by the President. And have seen progress in trying to deal with this scourge. And I'll just take you through some of the work that we've done per pillar, because we've got 6 pillars of the National Strategic Plan that help us frame the work that we do, interventions that we have, and are able to monitor progress in terms of implementing these interventions per pillar. And I'm just really going to highlight high levels without really getting into detail, just to give you a sense of what South Africa is doing. So for the last 4 years since the launch of the strategic plan, we've really spent a lot of time sorry, it's because I'm trying to read. Sorry, I hope you've been listening to what I'm saying, that I'm audible. So we've really spent a lot of time and energy, and we continue to do so, to institutionalize the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence. Because the first challenge that we're faced with, especially in government, is that our system was not really ready to absorb the work that the National Strategic Plan demands of us. So we had to look at the system and say, where do we start? How do we roll out this strategy? How do we implement the strategy? And for us to be able to do that was to actually start the process of institutionalization. What do I mean by institutionalization? For many years, we've had the policy, the 2000 policy on mainstreaming gender in the public sector. However, we have not seen the benefits of the systems that we've been trying to put in place. And as a result, we realize that there's something that is missing in terms of enabling us to respond appropriately. And even as I say that, I must really acknowledge, because government and civil society organizations in this country invested a lot of energy and time and resources in addressing this scourge. But lack of this plan, which all of us can rally around, was the biggest gap in South Africa. So we needed to ensure that we are able to mainstream the National Strategic Plan in the planning, budgeting, monitoring, and evaluation cycle of government. And there's a good reason for that. Is for us to allow departments to be able to account and implement targets of the National Strategic Plan that they allocated, because various departments have to do various things. So briefly, that's basically really the institutionalization that I'm talking about. But this institutionalization also includes us establishing specific structures like the Interministerial Committee on Gender-Based Violence that is constituted by various ministries, so that they're able to give us, our political principles are able to give us political guidance in terms of how and monitor how we implement the strategy. We've since had 2 presidential summits on gender-based violence that are well known. And now recently, the president assented to the National Council on Gender-Based Violence Act, and we are now having to establish the National Council that is going to facilitate and coordinate the implementation of the National Strategic Plan across the board. We also, as a Department of Women and Youth and Persons with Disabilities, we have a mandate to actually monitor progress in terms of and enforce accountability, especially in the absence of the council, of departments to actually report on a regular basis to the president, and now recently we will be reporting to cabinet on progress that departments are making in terms of implementing the NSP. But we are also really interested in strengthening the system across the three tiers of government to ensure that they are able to implement the strategy, especially at local level. So there's a lot of effort that we are making, working with Department of Local Government to actually ensure that they take the lead and roll out the strategy at local level. And we also trying as much as possible to mobilize resources both within government as well as working with our partner, donor partner, to actually assist us to do so. So what I've just shared with you is really pillar one of the National Strategic Plan that talks to leadership, coordination, and accountability. So that is the work that at least the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities has really been focused on doing, so that we are able to push the system to respond accordingly. When it comes to pillar two, just highlight some of the things that we've done since the launch of the National Strategic Plan was developing what we call the Comprehensive National Prevention Strategy. In other words, we've taken pillar two and really zoomed into pillar two and to look at really what is it that we need to do, because the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence is very clear that we need to really be invested in prevention rather than responding, because by the time these cases are picked up, people report, somehow it's too late, because a woman, a child would either have been violated or actually killed. So we want to really put a lot of effort and resources in pillar two, prevention, to actually prevent gender-based violence before it starts. That's what our strategy is about. We also now currently and are almost in the final stages of development of the prevention strategy M&E framework. And as soon as we are done with this, we'll obviously be rolling it out so that each stakeholder, each role player knows exactly what is it that is expected from them in terms of prevention and what are the programs that we need to roll out in terms of fighting the scourge. And the most important thing there is that we are very resolved in rolling out what we call evidence-informed programs. In other words, prevention programs that we know, and there's scientific evidence that actually these programs work because we need to do the right things at the right time in the right places for us to fight the scourge. We are well aware that awareness, which is a lot of work that for many years we've been doing, especially during 16 days of no violence against women and children, has not actually borne the kind of fruits that we want to see. So that's pillar two. With pillar three, quickly, we have amended 3 pieces of legislations that were amended: the Criminal and Related Matters Amendment Bill, Domestic Violence Amendment Bill, Criminal Amendment Act, Criminal Law, Sexual Offences and Related Matters Amendment Bill. They are now acts, they've been amended, and the idea here was to actually tighten and strengthen the ability of the criminal justice system to actually respond effectively to gender-based violence. We are also, for instance, Department of Justice is working very hard to expand sexual offences courts, reduce case backlogs, by themselves and the South African Police Services. And since the rollout of the NSP, at least the reports that are coming to the Department of Women show that the South African police are distributing rape kits in all the police stations, almost 100%. That is the information that we are getting from SAPS. In terms of Pillar 4, again, it's expansion and strengthening of support services like shelters with National Prosecuting Authority, increasing the Tutuzela care centers across the country. For Pillar 5, which is very relevant actually for this webinar, we are well aware of the establishment of the private sector gender-based violence fund. There's the Work Honor, that also was an offshoot of what we call the NGBV Collective, which is a forum of all stakeholders where we try and share progress and challenges and try and coordinate the work we do across so that we collectively can respond effectively to gender-based violence. We've also ratified the C190, which really focuses on sexual harassment issues in the world of work. And the Pillar 5 is one of the interventions that they are doing in terms of programs and projects, especially working with the private sector to address issues of sexual harassment and gender-based violence in the world of work, as I said. We are also well aware, and the National Strategic Plan for the first time gave us the opportunity to reach out to the private sector and work very closely with the private sector. We are happy that they are on board. Apart from the private sector fund, one that was established and launched, and which is supporting especially civil society organizations that are working in this sector. We are well aware of a lot of companies that are really trying to respond to GBV. For instance, companies like Anglo American, companies are developing policies, Anglo American in particular establishing an investigative unit. We are also aware of the EAP, which is Employee Assistance Program, or what is also called wellness programs, that are trying to provide support in the workplace for survivors and victims of GBV. A company like Woolworths has got a program called Beyond the Pledge program, looking at social norms, supporting civil society organizations and communities. And APSA, which is the bank, also has got a very interesting men's forum that they have established. So you can see that the NSP has really galvanized individuals, organizations, companies to respond to GBV. So we are hoping that this work in the private sector will grow to actually until we successfully address the sketch. And lastly, Pillar 6, I've made reference earlier on to the prevalence study that we are aware HSRC is concluding, and hopefully very soon these results will be launched and we will know where we are in as far as gender-based violence is concerned. We also are aware that Pillar 6 is also working hard. There's a team that is establishing a GBV repository and trying to ensure that we have some kind of data management system. As I said, we are challenged by data. It's all over. We are aware of the work that academic institutions are doing, civil society organizations are doing as far as research on GBV is concerned, but these are small-scale studies that really doesn't give us a global picture of GBV in South Africa. So I've tried really to run through, highlight some of the best practices. If I had more time, DG, I would have really delved into a whole lot of things that we are seeing, reports that we are receiving from department of the great work that is happening. Yeah, and I hope I've done justice to just give you a sense of what is going on in South Africa. And can I hand over to you? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would
Merci
like to
beaucoup.
share
Je voudrais partager
one of the incidents that happened
l'un des incidents qui est
um,
arrivé
on one of the female seafarers in one of the ships. She was thrown out of the ship. Up until today, her family has not received answers in terms of what happened to her. So gender-based violence is not just in the house. It's at home, it's at work, it's on the streets, it's at work. So we always talk about women having to join all the sectors and be everywhere where it was male-dominated areas. However, we need to change the mindset of those people that they are going to work with. Also, there's a woman who was raped and killed in the mine in South Africa some time ago. So we can't talk women in business or women in the economy without addressing gender-based violence, because it's one of the challenges: gender-based violence, sexual harassment, and the others. That's why Esther had to share what we are doing in South Africa. This will be one of the webinars that we are aiming to host as time goes on. As we said, that this is the beginning. We are focusing on economic empowerment, but we will, this will be the beginning, more especially with the assistance of the SADC Secretariat. Even though I would like to stress again, this meeting is a meeting organized by South Africa for the Southern African region, so that we can be able to work together and implement the policies and frameworks and strategies developed by the SADC Secretariat. Thank you very much, Esther. Without wasting time, for now, we're not going to discuss the presentation on gender-based violence. We are going to go straight to the presentations. As Esther had already indicated, that we have 4 panelists, and this is critical. Remember, the purpose of this meeting is so that women in business in South Africa and all other, we're 15 members in SADC, all these countries, women in these countries must be able to work together. Women in these countries must lead in order to ensure that there's economic empowerment. We shouldn't continue being called a Southern African region poor, one of the poorest regions, that we have HIV and all those things. Women are going to stand up and do something and work together. Women will force integration, in regional integration in the Southern Africa, if they start working together and develop and share experiences and expertise and share resources. As I had said yesterday, that in South Africa, because of the history of apartheid, it has left its own challenges, where you find that the financial sector still does the racial and gender tagging, where women don't get finances. Women yesterday indicated that they can't access finances. So we can't sit down and throw our hands. We need to do something. We need to look around the countries where there was no racial discrimination, where women can access finances. Then we look at if there's an opportunity in South Africa, others can access finance in their countries. How do we come together and work together? There are opportunities also of black industrialists in South Africa, where if others are in manufacturing, they can partner with women in South Africa and establish a plant for manufacturing, and the South Africans access the Black Industrialist Fund. So this is the purpose. But we also said we need to discuss to say what opportunities exist. We are joined here by 4 panelists who will look at the situational analysis of the member states so that they can share their experiences, but also the intervention programs, best practices, what best practices do they have, but also what opportunities exist. If it's government that is presenting, we also need to know what opportunities exist for women in South Africa to partner with women in other countries to be able to implement. First on the program is Winnie Mama Tsaraga, who is a gender focal point in the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. She's here, ne? She's here. Okay. And then Mr. Henry Nkoma from Zambia, he'll present virtually. Mr. Sandile Nzimanze from Eswatini, he'll present virtually. Miss Matau Futo Litsatsi from Lesotho will present virtually. So, Miss Winnie Mama Tsaraga. Or she'll present virtually. Or here it says physically. Winnie?
Yes,
The floor is
DG, I'm ready.
yours. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Can you hear me? Thank you, DG. Thank you, colleagues, for the opportunity to be part of this a very comprehensive and successful after attending yesterday session. Good morning to the DG, Advocate Maluleke. Good morning to DGs, all the DGs or private secretaries from the region. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. My name is Winnie Mama Tsaraga from the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. I'll still say Department of Mineral Resources and Energy because I'm presenting under the banner of the 2 departments. But we have not changed anything yet. We are still functioning as Mineral Resources and Energy. So I'll present or talk as such. As Mineral Resources and Energy, I'll present the intervention or the experiences in relation to GBV and F in line with our mandate as an economic department, and our focus will be more on pillar 5, the economic power pillar. So what we have done is, I'll start from where we started to where we are as a department. Where we started, we were still the Department of Energy, where we engaged different provinces. We engage in business opportunity roadshows to all 9 provinces and share opportunities in the energy sector. Those opportunities. Our other motive was also to check what are the challenges. Why is energy sector is still more male dominated in terms of entrepreneurship or women that are engaging in businesses in the energy sector. And then while we are busy presenting those opportunities together with the access to funding opportunities, we also learn about the same challenges that each and every department, each and every sector are facing. Women lack information on opportunities. Women lack information on access to funding. Women have difficulty in terms of business development issues. And then in terms of also responding to bids or tender is also a problem. DG, I also heard you talking about the issue of compliance. This is also a major issue that we have identified during the road shows, and also women they are not able to market their products or services. So what we have done out of that, we have developed the strategy for the energy sector, which is built on 4 pillars: capacity building, organizational development, institutional development. And from after developing the strategy, this is good because what we have done, we have not developed this strategy alone. We have done it together with the sector, with women in energy. And the strategy was launched by the minister. The minister had to own the strategy and launch the strategy and appointed his own gender advisory, Gender Ministerial Advisory Council. This council was minister appointed them. I'm so sorry. Can I ask not to project my video? Okay, let me appointed this council is gonna help him to implement the strategy. This council is comprised of representative from different sectors in the energy. So be it petroleum, be it nuclear, be it renewable energy, and even the funding institution, business development institution, all those representative that will cover the challenges that we identified when we're doing the road shows. And then the minister also made sure that out of the appointed council members, they are divided into 3. They members, representatives that are focusing on access to finance. There is one that is dealing with capacity building and enterprise, and the other one was focusing on enterprise development. So that is that about the strategy. So from that strategy, we had to engage in also again road shows to make sure that we've got a buy-in of this strategy with all within the sector, be it internal or external. In terms of, I'll come to the intervention of best practices based on the strategy. Yes, I have indicated that the strategy is one of the best practice or intervention that we have made. And out of this strategy, we have learned that because we've got this document, we no longer speak. Sometimes even when we are not there, when the strategy is there, the strategy speaks on itself, and we end up receiving interventions or programs even from the stakeholders that we have not even market ourselves there. So it's very important. We've seen that it has worked for us. Then another intervention is that we made sure that the strategy is also owned by the CEOs. While we were doing those roadshows, we were also making sure that the CEOs commit themselves in terms of implementing the strategy. And then the Gender Advisory Council, I've already indicated it. And also we have other main thing is that the strategy was implemented in partnership with is implemented in partnership with stakeholders. We wouldn't have been doing much if it was us, because as a Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, our mandate is just policy development. It's not programs. So even the allocation of resources we receive in line with that mandate, but we find it working for us to do this in partnership with stakeholders, whether local or international academic. We have had partnership with USAID and conducted workshops, UN Women, GI Women in Energy associations. And then we are out of that also during the major conferences, we exposed more than 30 women, not at the same time, more than 30 women to measure exhibition so that they can market their products. And we've already had the testimonies to say that it's working for them, because those women are now able to move from one level to another in terms of their businesses, and it has been working, and we'll continue to do that. One of the opportunity, we use it together with Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, where they also pay for. So it's one intervention that we can learn out of it. And then from all those workshops that we had, we also developed a database of opportunities, of presentations, of recordings. So if one can visit our website, you will be able to get presentation since 2014 to date, where you'll get presentation on women in energy, on energy opportunities, different energies, and also mining opportunities. And then we also developed the Women in Energy Directory. So now that we have got the directory, whenever there are opportunities, the capacity building opportunities, funding opportunities, or any opportunity with our women in the database, and it is also working for us. And then we also went further and developed or establish ourselves and have MOUs with different stakeholders like EXCOM. From our department, almost like 60% of our budget goes to integrated national electrification program. So we use ESCOM, we use municipalities to do electrification for us. So what we have done with ESCOM, we entered into an MOU that whatever money or how much we give you, you must make sure that a certain portion must go to women. So it's there, and they are reporting it is. And we also made sure that when we do this, we must have like baseline studies, so that whatever we do, we don't just go blind. We do a targeted approach. So we had 2 studies that we have done with the GIZ, where the other one was for green hydrogen. You know that green hydrogen is an emerging economy, and we need to be clever and try to make sure that we are part of it as it is emerging. So we had we conducted a study that to ensure to advise or to guide on how women can participate in the green hydrogen economy. We also conducted a study with on gender diversity in the renewable energy. This one cover the internal and external women in the renewable energy, in terms of what is it that the sector can do to make sure that women are part of the renewable energy sector. It has started from the young girls to the academic institution and in terms of employment. So that is that. And then so whatever that I have said regarding the energy sector, we have done the same in terms of the mining sector. Though with the mining sector, we have just finalized the strategy for the mining sector, and we are just about to go for consultation. But there are programs that you had the Sawima yesterday, they also spoke about the issue of small scale mining and the funding. Yes, it is part of what we are doing. And then up to date, we have trained 223 women on small scale mining. And some of them have even underwent the practical part, and some of them are in the process of applying for small scale mining funding. So we also made sure that we also have, we are lobbying for set aside money that will also only assist they apply for permits and everything. So in terms of also small scale mining, there is funding that is there. It's being administered by IDC. They advertise. The last advert is already closed, and the business people applied, but we also learned that out of those applications, few were coming from women. So it's one thing that we need to do to accelerate the opportunities and also to accelerate the capacity building so that next advert women apply in numbers. So we have also conducted workshops, and then in terms of the GBV in the mine health and safety, they have developed the guidelines, which is still to be approved, and then that focus on mine health and safety for women, including women PPEs, in line with NSPs. Excuse me. And then also they have got institutions like WIMAC, Women in Mining Council, and also tripartite to make sure that women are accommodated in the mining sector. And then lastly, the mining company is also established the GB fund that is looking at the issue of GBVs in the mining sector, and then also in line with the SLPs. So this is all that we are doing as a department that we are sharing with you. And I think I'm done. Thank you very much. I'll learn from others. Thank you, DG.
Portuguese translation. So I'm hoping other countries that are participating here, they can hear, they can understand what is being said through the translation. And I would also request that the countries representatives that are here, they rename themselves so that they start with a country, to say Angola, and if it's an organization, they can put the name of the organization after, so that we're able to see whether they are able to cope or not. But thank you very much. And also, we had the High Commission of Canada, we had UN Women, we had UN AIDS. I'm not sure whether UN Women is here today because we can't see them when we track them. But I wanted to mention the names because DMRE indicated that there is a program for small-scale mining, and women are applying, but we need women to apply even in bigger numbers. But also we need to cooperate. If there are women who have certain skills in energy, in gas or whatever, they can partner with women in South Africa and be able to access funds for small scale, but they can also bring funds from where they're coming from in order for them to be able to mine. This is what we're talking about when we say, let's share information. And I'm happy, I saw Kumo earlier on, and they are in Musa. I explained yesterday that we have women it's women in oil and energy. South Africa, we had South African women in mining, and we have South African nuclear, women in nuclear. South Africa, we have different women that are participating here. That's why we want you to exchange the details. We want you to type your details on the chat. We are going to take that. The information will be at the back of the report that we're going to develop, so that we already know. But also others, when they see your details, they'll be able to contact you and start working together. the Southern African region must grow, and it's women that are going to grow that. Without wasting time, I would like to call there will be a change on the program because the official from Zambia is not here, Mr. Henry Makoma. What's that, Mkoma? He'll be replaced by a member of Sawima. But what we'll do now, I will request Mr. Sandile Nzimanze from Eswatini to share, and then Miss Matau Futo Litsatsi also to follow, and then Sawima, Miss Matonsi from Sawima will be the last. So we'll follow in that way. Thank you. Do we have Mr. Sandile Nzimande? You are on the program. I know that yesterday you've spoken, but I just wanted to find out that you were aware that we are speaking again. Even if you don't do a presentation, you can just share. And Miss Matau Futo Litsatsi. Yeah, okay, I've got it right. Miss Matau Futo Litsatsi will follow you. If Mr. Sandile Nzimande is not here, can we go to Lesotho, Miss Matau Futo Litsatsi? Can they hear me? Huh? She's not online. Matau. She's not even picked up. Do we have anyone from Lesotho? Okay, can we go to Sawima? Sawima to make inputs and to respond to the presentation by DMRE. Am I not muted? Can they hear me?
Morning.
Morning.
Yes, good morning. Yes.
Morning.
Yeah.
Morning. We can hear you. You can proceed.
Yes. Good morning, teaching and everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. Okay. I'm responding to, okay, I'll be talking about GBV also in the mining industry, adding to what the former speaker was saying or was presenting. Our research, when we check as women, sexual harassment and sexual violence in the mining sector, mostly it happens, remember our women has to go underground in remote areas and relatively in isolated areas, which makes them more vulnerable to violence. Sexual harassment and sexual assault it remains very rife in those areas, in those underground remote areas. So when we look at the patterns and the solutions, actually, we feel, okay, the department and the mining houses mainly, they need to develop, to have a development or training to raise awareness about the GBV in workplace. There's a need for men to take greater responsibility to end GBV. And also, secondly, there's a need to create workplaces based on respect and equality. Because most of the time women are undermined in this sector. Not only in this sector, actually it's a trend in all sectors. And some of the larger mining houses, as forms of fighting or mitigating against this behavior, they've installed underground cameras to monitor all the activities that are happening, including sexual harassment cases underground in the mines. And then we feel as SAWIMA, there needs to be a helpline where these cases or these women can report their cases, because sometimes you may find that they're even afraid to report because of the harassment that they'll be facing after reporting these matters. And this is not on underground women only. We're talking also about your artisanal miners who are just working for themselves. Most of the time they are being sexually harassed by their male counterparts. And also even those who are in working areas like your offices, women, when they need promotions, they have to, they face a sexual harassment by their male counterparts, where the feeling is before they can be promoted, it must be a sexual exchange for positions. And we found that that is very, very unfair and very, very sad. And the other challenge, or the challenge that we see also, is the clothing, the PPE. Though there's already some improvements, but we are saying with their PPE, if you look at the clothing underground, most of the time you find is those overalls when women are wearing them. You can imagine if a person has to now maybe go to the bathroom or whatever, the person will have to, and underground, remember where they're working, you find there's no bathroom there, maybe. Those who doesn't know underground, I'm speaking real underground, where in those remote areas, the person has to take off that overall. Obvious, it leaves her naked. So with the improvement of PPE, that will help. Though they've already started with that improvement on the PPE. Maybe let me stop here for now, and then I'll answer when the questions are according to the questions, which will be directed to me.
Okay, I see Mr. Sandile Nzimande. You are on the program.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Sandile Nzimande?
Yes, madam. Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I'm Sandile Mzimande from the Kingdom of Eswatini. I'm here presenting my director, who is currently. I will share a situational analysis of Eswatini. Maybe just to give a picture of Eswatini, especially to those who are not familiar with Eswatini. This is a landlocked country which is between South Africa and Mozambique. And our population is about 1.1 million people. So it's a very small country, which makes it very alarming when we see even one case of gender-based violence, because it's a small country which is about 17,000 kilometers square. So looking at GBV in Eswatini, I can say that it's a persistent challenge, of course, which disproportionately affect women and girls, as 1.3 females have experienced some form of sexual abuse by the age of 18 years, and also 48% of women have reported to have experienced some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. So this is data that we got from our research as a country. But then we do have an administrative data that we collect from the various service providers on GPV. And with the administrative data, we have seen an increase of gender-based violence cases and also cases of femicide. When we look at the data, it shows that there has been an increase of 50% from 2017 to 2023, which is very alarming for us as a small country. And we have also seen from our violence against children study which has been conducted in 2022. We have seen that 15.8% of females and 21% of males aged between the ages of 18 and 24 have experienced physical, sexual, and emotional violence in childhood, which for us it's a very alarming figure. So as a country, we have tried to create a conducive legislative environment for prevention and response to gender-based violence. But we see that instead of these cases decreasing, they are increasing in an alarming rate. And we have also adopted a multi-sectoral approach in prevention and response of gender-based violence across all sectors. Choose gender-based violence structures in terms of coordination in different levels, and also gender-based violence has seen government interventions to overcome this gender-based violence. We do have legislative frameworks in the country which guide the work that we are doing in terms of gender-based violence prevention and response, and we have our gender policy issues of gender-based violence. We also have in Swati, which comes with a costed plan of action. Our national strategy to gender-based violence in Eswatini has got 5 pillars. The first pillar speaks to prevention. It have strategies on how gender-based violence can be prevented. And the second pillar has provide a holistic response to the victims of gender-based violence and also their families. And our administrative data shows that most of these gender-based violence cases are happening within a home setup, which means happening mostly is at home. Then the other places follows. So with this pillar, we also look at response to the victims and also their families and those people that they live within their home sector. Then we also have the pillar that speaks to um, the, the justice system, and in our justice system, in which we can improve those laws that are there, which are lacking in terms of GBV prevention and also GBV response. Then the fourth pillar speaks of collaboration and coordination. And as the Department of Gender and Family Issues in the government, we have realized that gender-based violence cannot be fight by one entity or agency. So we stand or emphasize on collaboration among stakeholders, be it government organization, and also civil, the
Noise. Can you hear
CSO.
me? Can you hear me? Where you are, there's a lot of noise. There's a background.
I'm sorry for that. Uh, I wonder how is it now. Um, can I proceed, program director? Or it's still a lot of noise.
You can proceed, but can you tell those people to lower their voices?
Okay, let me try. Let me try. Yeah. Um, I'm very much sorry for that, but I will proceed.
No problem. You can proceed.
Um, am I still audible enough, program director, so that I can proceed? Can I proceed, program director?
Yes, yes, you can proceed.
My apologies for that. So
Okay.
I was on the fourth pillar in our end of violence strategy, which speaks to coordination in the sense that the government is working with civil society in terms of preventing and responding to issues of gender-based violence, where we are looking at collaborations among all sectors, including the involvement of private sector in the fight against GPV. And we are also looking at mobilizing more resources towards the fight of gender-based violence, because we realize that there is a lot that is needed in terms of resources in the fight against gender-based violence. Then the last pillar speaks to research, that as a country we need to also focus and invest on research so that we can try to understand why GBV is so prevalent in the country, as each and every day we get cases of gender-based violence and also cases of femicide. That's what we have in terms of what is in our national strategy. And of course, we also have a national plan of action for children, which has got also a pillar on child protection and child safety. With our legislation, we have our Children Protection and Welfare Act of 2012 and also the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act of 2018, which are the main acts that are used in gender-based violence. So, in terms of what we do as a country, there are interventions that are taking part or that we are involved in as a country. We have awareness raising in different settings in the communities, and currently as a department we are having an outreach awareness raising within the bus ranks in the country. We are targeting those who are in the public transport sector and also those who are using the bus ranks within the country to raise awareness on these issues of gender-based violence. We also conduct dialogues in communities and also in schools on gender-based violence, and also we do a lot of advocacy and lobbying um, amongst our parliamentarians and also those people who are in decision making, including our chiefs in the communities. And we also do an ongoing advocacy on these issues. On response, we have tried to introduce one-stop centers where victims or survivors of gender-based violence have access to post-violence care services in under one roof. Currently, we have only 3 one-stop centers in the country, which is spread among the 3 regions out of 4 regions that we have in the country, and we are working towards introducing one in the 4th region. And we are hoping that with time and with the resources permitting, we will be able to even downscale, even try to decentralize the one-stop centers so that it can also be closer to the communities. There's also counseling services that is found in different agencies within government and also within the civil society. We also provide assistance with the access to justice, and the country has since put in place a legal aid office or department that will look at issues of access to justice. And also tried to ensure aftercare services to victims um, and survivors of gender-based violence. When it comes to opportunities, as a country, we have tried to put in place coordination mechanism which cascade from the regions up to the national level. So with those structures, we think that sports can be strengthened as we have regional coordinating mechanisms which are at the regional level, where all the responders to gender-based violence need to strategize and discuss issues of gender-based violence, and they also discuss issues of referrals and the likes. And then at the regional level, we have a multi-sectoral task team on violence, which is made of the technocrats when it comes to gender-based violence, and they work on issues that have been recommended or that are coming from the regional coordination structure. And above the multi-sectoral task team, we have the directors forum. In the directors forums, it sits all the directors of all the agencies that are working on gender-based violence. And
Please wrap up.
look at all the issues that come from the multi-sectoral task team, and they also report to the high-level task force on violence, which is made of the principal secretaries of all the relevant ministries, including the commissioner of the police. And that is the highest coordination structure when it comes to the issues of the gender-based violence. And they are reporting direct to the Deputy Prime Minister's who then report to the cabinet. That's what we are doing as far as gender-based violence is concerned in the country, including the situation in the country.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm hoping that at the next webinar, you'll also be able to present on the opportunities that exist for women there, and that women in businesses will be invited. Without wasting time, I would like to see whether there are participants who would like to ask questions. We'll just allocate few minutes for the questions so that we can go to the next panels. Kile? Okay, it seems as if there are no questions, but I hope everyone has listened to the DMRE, and then they can follow up after that. Without wasting time, I'll go to the next interactive discussion on networking and market access. I didn't check whether the participants are here or not. We have Miss.
And
Okay.
a comment. Close the door. Sorry, let me close the door. Okay, I'm Lucia Simelane Ochen. I'm based in Mpumalanga. I'm actually situated in a tri-land zone, which is Eswatini and Mozambique. We have lots of cross-border trading, but it's women that are doing small-scale farming, or they sell vegetables to women that end up trading in our cities. So I would like us to include immigration and migration law in terms of educating women how to access permits, how to access their visas, and also, permits to trade in our municipality areas. As we believe that most African women, we have hand skill work in terms of doing salons and etc. We have a lot of illegal women that are trading within the municipalities bylaws. So that is very important. How can we include that as we are starting? I think it's that I wanted to raise. And also human trafficking. We have a lot of women that are not South African that are being, doing sexual trade within our cities. How do we assist those women as well? That is very, very important as we continue. Thank you so much.
Question. For now, I do not have an answer on immigration and migration. Next time, we will invite the Department of Home Affairs to be able to address those, because sometimes when you address or answer questions that are not within your area of work, you end up giving wrong information. That's why I say I don't have an answer. We'll invite Home Affairs to come and talk about immigration and migrations, but also we'll invite Department of, no, what's that, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, because on the municipalities, permits and all those, they're the ones that will be able to report on that. And then human trafficking, it is a challenge. We know we have laws in South Africa. It's a criminal offense, but I am not going to talk to that because it is not a topic for today. As I said, after Esther presented that, we will have specific webinars on certain topics. We'll have a specific webinar on gender-based violence and femicide, which will include everything. We'll have a specific seminar on mining. We'll have a specific seminar on trading and all those. So we will note all the questions that you've asked, but I'm not going to respond to them now. Thank you. We will go to the next panel. We have Ms. Mapule Nganywa, Chairperson of Skills Development in South African BRICS Business Council. And we also have Ms. Lebogang Zulu, Chairperson of the BRICS Women's Business Association. I hope they are participating here. Ms. Mapule Nganywa, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG, and I would like to also greet everyone that's present today and thank you for the invitation. I realize that we've been struggling with networks, so I just wanted to obviously appear and show face as I do the greetings. I'm going to try and present without my video so that I can save bandwidth. Can you just confirm that my slide is visible?
Yes, yes it is.
Yes.
Okay. As DG has indicated, I'm chairing the Skills Development, Applied Technology and Innovation Working Group of the BRICS Business Council. And a lot of our work is focused on ensuring that we prepare our country for future occupations in developing skills, but also working with partners in the skills fora to ensure that we've got a great pipeline of the emerging as well as future jobs that we see coming upon us. Our working group is focused on providing support for the broader council, the working groups that are formed under the BRICS Business Council. We initiate conversations around skills issues, issues around Industry 4 as well as Industry 5.0. We identify gaps, skills gaps, utilizing research, and obviously we engage in collaborations of programs for the development to close off the identified gaps in the country. We don't do this alone as the BRICS. We do it with both the private sector as well as public sector, including the education sector and the social sector that we've started working so closely with. We started off by having a vision that guides us. And as I indicated, it was to create this pipeline of emerging and future job opportunities. If you look on this eye on the right-hand side, there are numbers 1 to 5. The very first number that it talks to us looking at research and that tells us from a benchmark point of view, where did South Africa start when we joined the BRICS formation? And where did we start in terms of identifying what jobs we have and what are the gaps that existed? And after that, we also went further to say, seeing that the world is now global and obviously occupations are changing and so are jobs, what are these jobs that are changing for us as well, and what are we doing about that? It's a concept that we borrowed from the Russians. They've got a tool that's called the Atlas of Skills. We termed it, or we coined it, Atlas of Future Jobs in the country, because we customized it for ourselves. It's an online map, and it lists, all the redundant jobs and also future jobs and the jobs that are replacing them. And we do that so that we can assist, industries to prepare their workforces, as well as we develop upcoming young people to identify which jobs are potentially jobs in demand, so that we can plug in the gaps of the demand from the supply that we see. The second column talks to the skills camps. This is what we put in place to ensure that we continuously train, upskill, cross-skill, and introduce new skills that we find in the BRICS plus countries that we don't have in the countries. We hold online workshops for both certified and uncertified skills in partnerships, obviously, with the departments of education, QCTOs, and specialists in the skills development arena. Now, after that, we ensure that we put in place a challenge that's going to tell us whether we are winning in the work that we are doing, and we hold what we call skills challenges. And these are obviously to benchmark ourselves from the BRICS countries in terms of skills that we are competing on. Now, later on, I'll explain how we do that. But if you look at that arrow, we do hold multi-day competitions across the BRICS countries. And in this year, all roads are leading to Russia. Next month, we are going to compete on these various skills that we are putting out there. The fourth quadrant talks to knowledge sharing. Obviously, the idea of the formation of the BRICS is to ensure that there is knowledge sharing. We want, an environment where we can share best practices. We want an environment where we can trade across each other, but understanding, obviously, all the requirements for trading, and our focus hence on skills, especially for young people to understand what it is that is required if you're wanting to partake in opportunities presented by a country which is located in the East, or any country that is within the South. Lastly, we do have a feedback mechanism back into our different countries, not just South Africa, all the BRICS countries, to throw into the career guidance, so that we do not only focus on post-school young people. We also start from the bottom up. And as you understand, we're wanting to see Africa being a digitalized continent, as well as, a country that is, a continent that is competitive, even if it means we have to lead, but we need to take the rest of the continent with us. Currently, in my working group, we have got programs and the impact of those programs that we are running with. And this is where I'm hoping that the participants online, as you hear in this, in your different regions, you can reach out to us so that we can partner with you and work together. Firstly, we want to increase the pipeline of skills across not just South Africa, but the continent. We do that by establishing training partners, and we certify those, we call them BRICS training academies. Now, these academies are capacitated. We'll provide curriculum, we train the trainers, and we leave entities, whether it's a four-walled building, whether it's a mobile unit, whether it is a hut that is meant to service a particular radius. The idea is that there we need to facilitate introduction of technical skills, so that whenever we are talking of this BRICS, everybody is on board. We continue with research and awareness, and I indicated that core to our business is research in identifying where the need is at. Currently, we started in business across the sectors to identify whether they were aware of changing jobs, and if they were, what is being done to ensure that these the employees are upskilled and some of them are cross-skilled, and we continue to create enterprises out of the emerging opportunities from changing jobs. Now, you'd obviously agree with me that that incorporates or touches on curriculum in our country. And we've got experts that are focusing on curricula and standardization. This is particularly for these challenges that we hold across our different countries, because we come up with different policies from different ministries. In South Africa, we've concluded what we call a BRICS machine learning and big data standardization. What we do, we look at all the curriculum provided either university level, TVET level, even college level, benchmark that against what's appearing at the BRICS curricula, because we joined, we've got 10 years in South Africa after joining BRICS. Now we throw that into a funnel and we come out with these gaps that I spoke about. From those gaps, we work with various stakeholders that are experts in curriculum to ensure that we increase curriculum for particular skills, and in this case that I'm showing for machine learning and big data, to a BRICS standard, so that as we deliver this training to our young people, it's at the level where we know that once they qualify, they then come out with dual qualifications, what they already were doing in this space, but at the BRICS qualification as well, that allow them to hold opportunities within the BRICS countries in terms of jobs. Of course, we are doing this so that we can put South Africa at a competitive edge. We took about 50 skills that we want to standardize. And to do that, we're continuously holding what we call skills webinars. And like I indicated, we have a feedback mechanism onto our education ecosystem, so that as the country changes with the policymakers changing, we already are in sync with them with what is happening. South Africa struggled a lot with unemployment, so we've prioritized, obviously, job opportunities, and to do that, we were facilitating knowledge exchange programs across the BRICS plus countries. We came up with a concept that's called a passport of skills across the BRICS countries, and this allows any of our participants, as they qualify for a particular skill and gets issued a passport of skill, whenever there are opportunities for a rollout in a skills program or a job program in the countries that we are working with at BRICS, those who hold such certification are pushed to the front to take, those opportunities. There is a specification of the structure on how we do this. The focus being obviously on the workplace, but if you look underneath, we are focusing on developing the individual to become the specialist, but we are also making sure that at the workplace we have requisite and new technologies that enable the specifications and the structure of this workplace using skills. And lastly, we are also focusing on products. What we wanting to focus on and drive a lot through our solutions now. We know that the more we develop entrepreneurs, the more opportunities will exist. And yesterday I was very impressed. One of the speakers was talking about how we must ensure that we create opportunities for our young people to also benefit from being online, utilizing their software that we are paying. But yesterday we were on Zoom making somebody rich. But this is the whole idea for the product focus, in that when we look at the issues that have been discussed in the past 2 days, one of the core issues for me that I like making an example of is trading amongst ourselves, where women can intertrade, be it whatever product that they have or manufacture. If it's between within the continent, why is it that we have to trade utilizing a dollar? So there needs to be opportunities that are created to allow our young people, these technocrats, to come up with solutions that allows us to trade amongst ourselves using currencies that we are currently operating in. Now, obviously, such things, to be able to be feasible, we continuously must make sure that we expose and we change and look at the emerging skills and get our young people or enterprises, emerging enterprises, to be involved in such opportunities. Looking at the enterprises as well, we like talking about an enterprise because it's not that if I'm Mapule and I'm an entrepreneur, I'll remain one in perpetuity. At some point, I'm going to grow my business to a point where it becomes a very big enterprise that is going to employ a lot of people. So ensuring that we've got a specification on the structure of training from a skills point of view and incorporating those is to make sure that we grow these businesses as well. Last year in South Africa, September, we held the Skills Challenge in Nasrec. And if you look on my left-hand side, could be your right, those 12 skills areas were what we focused on. And we did a call out not just to young people who are at universities. We also called out enthusiasts who were developing themselves, utilizing what we have on phones, on social media, in any of these 12 areas. And we said it's an opportunity for them to come and test their skills against the skills of their counterparts coming from the BRICS countries. This year, the same is happening in Russia, and they chose 16 of these areas. And you can see that there's a repetition of the skills that we also did. This means that, we stand an opportunity or a chance to go in and beat them in those opportunities, the skills areas. But we can't do that if we don't hold the online skills camps to polish up for whoever is interested in coming up there. But bigger than that, this is just at the skilling level. Bigger than that, we are looking at opportunities where, a group of business people at a very startup level can come up together and join up to come and compete at the solutions level. We are going to be holding a solutions competition again in South Africa, but in November, details which we shall be sharing with the department. And this is calling anyone who has come up or put together something that is solutions-based, that is looking at growing, not just an individual, but a group of people that are putting together a solution that's going to benefit the broader society. We were asking simple questions that were targeting the challenges that we're experiencing in the country last year. And as you can see, these are some of the questions that we put out to potential participants to say, you have a skill. If you are a specialist in data science, come and tell us, how you secure your data, how you ensure that nobody is going to get into your data and collect data that is not allowable. If you are in internet marketing, how do you make a campaign to, advertise a particular company, and how do we make sure that that company's, tenure is growing, utilizing what you've put together? Or how do we use robotics arms that you've put together to ensure that those arms are making life easier for other people if you look at robotic process automation? The skills passport is something that looks like this. And as I indicated, it's for specialization. The young people we have already in the country, I'm very proud to let you know, who've acquired skills passports. And some of them are already on their way to Russia to go and represent us yet in the skills that they've acquired. But an example of what we indicated, if you look at the design of a language to develop an inter-BRICS cross-border payment system, that is at a solutions perspective. And obviously that must allow for some of us who are still using the old systems. APIs must be used so that, we don't have a wait period and then we transfer into a new system. So if we get to that point and we have our people leading, this is one of the ways where then South Africa can become one of the leading countries where technology is involved. We're not doing it alone. We are partnering. You'd be surprised to know that there's a call out. We are partnering with India in some of these solutions. We're partnering with Ghana in some of these solutions as we are going to Russia. We're partnering with Zimbabwe in these solutions. So the idea behind it is that we want to create a chance for our enthusiasts locally to learn, to increase or improve their skills across the BRICS nations, to develop and grow their network so that, they increase their chances of business partnerships and opportunities. And obviously, when we get to a point as South Africa, once we are in agreement with the government for the skills passport, it becomes another piece of document that makes it very easy for cross-border opportunities. There are obviously other areas where I believe in the broader context of the discussions I need to bring in. So one of those being how can we make sure that we cooperate amongst the BRICS plus countries so that we can achieve common goals, in particular for young women coming up and women as well. So one of those talks to the easing of visa regulations for business travelers. This is still one of the challenges that we are facing, but it's still it's an area where we believe that if we put more effort at the BRICS level, it's going to ensure that our bilateral investments reduces the hurdles. Secondly, I think the critical skills focus for manufacturing on local 4 and 5 IR best practices and new products must be something that we focus on. We need to aim for a full ramp-up position, obviously, for new products that are coming up by young people, as well as those that are being taken off the shelves. Now, we need to also include some litmus test for competence for businesses to hire talent, obviously, on some complex projects, as well as quality execution projects. Importantly, we need to collaborate on projects in areas such as renewable energy, digital economy, skills development, so that we can promote innovation and we can drive economic growth and then investigate the establishment of a business matchmaking. We are looking at a push and pull market strategy. We believe that should be able to, to enable individual businesses to navigate the BRICS plus business relationships, as it were. Now, there are challenges that we have been told that certain countries are experiencing, which I believe we need to overcome to strengthen their role, especially in our region. My take is that BRICS Plus provides a platform for all countries in this alliance to explore and capitalize on available opportunities. I'm very much wanting to emphasize the fact that we need to start within the region. We need to make sure that we improve the intellectual property, that we agree on common approach. We need to look at enhancing education and skills development, reform some of the bureaucratic processes that exist, and coordinate regulatory oversight so that we can have a more coherent and unified position in fora such as the World Trade Organization. Job creation and inequality in the various member countries is an area that we also need to continuously look into and strengthen. Chair, I think without wasting time, I want to sort of get to my end and indicate that in the next month, 22nd and 27th of September, we will be in Kazan. We've got about 18, as I indicated, young people and small enterprises that we are supporting who are going to be representing us in Kazan on various skills that are in deemed future or skills of the future, as well as innovation that we're wanting to put South Africa in the fore about. The Atlas of Emerging Skills, for those of you that are interested, sits on our portal. We've already delivered it to only one of the SETAs locally. It's been reviewed by other SETAs at the moment, but it's important that you understand that it cuts across various industries. It actually looks at what is changing, as I indicated, and why are things changing. I think I like the fact that I always get a question that, you know, if jobs are changing, does it mean people are going to lose jobs? The Atlas, it gives, you know, reasons why jobs are changing and what are the new skills that are required to change with the change of these jobs. And we're not going to forget the fact that in South Africa, we also look at those of our young people or of our employees who've been in jobs for many years, but they don't have requisite, you know, qualifications. The Atlas allows them to upskill without actually going into formal academia. They can do it within the workplace. They can do it individually, but it ensures that, you know, they get new skills that they can use either to stay in the jobs or to look at new job opportunities that are appearing. I think I've come to the end of my presentation, Chair, and I just want to say for those of you online, I would like for you to partner with us so that we can increase South Africa's pipeline of future skills and strengthen this country, not just our workforce, strengthen this country and strengthen our continent, as it were, so that we can collectively partake in opportunities that the global platform is presenting in BRICS Plus. Thank you so much.
Everyone online, just pause a little bit. We're coming back to this presentation. Now, I would like to call someone who says she has to leave, and I've requested her just to 5 minutes to tell us she's DDG in the Department of Transport. The Department of Transport is critical for women in business, but also there's businesses within transport. It's not just the transport owned by government. Women can own the aeroplanes and what. There's so much that transport can do. So I said to her, before you leave, let me pause this one and ask you to say something. There are many things that the SADC and the AU are looking at with regard to transport, but the businesses, the building of roads, there's rail, there's whatever. So, Manana Randu, Cecily Randu, Mashaba, please come in. I know you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, DG, for the opportunity. But maybe to give a bit of background on what the Department of Transport is doing as it relates to women empowerment issues. So the department currently houses the South African Network for Women in Transport, which we commonly refer to as SANWIT, and this was established as a voluntary organization of a public character and not for gain, with corporate personality, perpetual succession, and legal personality, which is distinct from its members. So in 2007, SANWIT was launched with its constitution and the business plan. And the main purpose of establishing SANWIT was to ensure the sustainability which advances government agenda by empowering women within the transport industry and the transportation sector. The objectives of SANWIT is mainly to encourage women to enter and succeed in the transport industry. And this is through the facilitation of enterprise development, networking, and supporting women for success and growth, negotiating on behalf of members for wealth generation, as well as lobbying and advocating for policy environment that would support and enable the sustainability of women enterprises. However, we realized that since the launching of this sandwich structure, which I did mention that it was not for gain, we realized that there were a lot of gaps which were hindering what Sandwich was purposed to do. And there were opportunities that arose, and there were opportunities that did benefit certain women. But there are certain structures that make it a bit difficult for all the women in the structure to benefit, and that's what we are currently trying to resolve. So our constitution did not allow, and one of the gaps that we identified was that our constitution did not allow us to tap into the money that was deposited by the women that joined the structure. So the money is still within the coffers of the department, and which cannot necessarily be accessed. And for us, it then made us realize that what we were trying to do, we were actually locking ourselves in because we're not really empowering women. What we're then doing, we became a vehicle that would assist them in doing this and that. But the constitution itself did not allow women to thrive and achieve what they want to do. So as a result, we then undertook an exercise of reviewing our constitution, and in doing that, we want Senwet to operate from two arms, and one being the corporate arm, which would strategically focus on the modes of transport and ensure that Senwet is geared towards sourcing funding as well as unlocking opportunities. And by that we mean that Senwet members could work and be able to crowd in some form of investment so that they are also able to sustain themselves, which currently they are unable to do that. The second part of this arm would be an empowerment arm, which takes on the CSR issues, which would include the training, the skill analysis, outreach programs to communities, collaboration with academia, especially the mentorship of young female professionals. And this is the students or graduates in the transportation or logistics sector to ensure exposure across the board. And because of that, we realized that before we identify opportunities that could empower women, we need to get our house in order. And getting our house in order is exactly what I've just spoken to about the operational model that we are proposing. And as such, upon the completion of this exercise, then we believe that the women would be able to be empowered and would also guide them in identifying the opportunities that are out there in the sector. What we're also running away from was having people that we are unable to build for them to be able to do what they're supposed to do. And with this proposed operational model, we want to bring women that would be able to hold another woman's hand and take them through the process. We realize that each and every woman that has reached a particular stage, it is not because they just got there on their own, but it's through mentorship. And that's what we want to advocate for leaving no one behind and having a success as women as a whole, as opposed to being successful as an individual. That's what we are trying to push for. So even in the streams that we are trying to establish, we want it to be modal and have people that would spearhead a particular stream that would be geared towards have dedicated resources that would look for opportunities, that would be able again to come back and share these resources with the people within that stream and be able to empower them so that everyone grows in the ladder, as opposed to just having one person sitting at the top of the ladder and not empowering the other people. So as mentioned, this project of review, we've now consulted the provinces on the chapters within the Senwet structure. And what we need to do is to go back to the women in the structure and illustrate that we have incorporated what they want to see in this new constitution. And once we get it adopted and endorsed by the SANWIC structure, then we can spearhead and then be able then to identify and be able to share the opportunities. So that's where we are, DG and colleagues. I have on the platform, I've seen Meverlin is also on the platform, and Babiki Patlani would also be able to field the questions as it relates to Senate. And with that, thank you very much.
Before you go, as you were talking, I just thought of, besides the constitution, how women were not able to bid for the SAA share when it was disposed of. And now we know that the president on TV confirmed or reassured that he is still, that bid failed, but he is still going to sell the shares of SAA or dispose of it. I'm not sure how. I think some of the discussions that need to start with SANWIC is mobilizing themselves and women in South Africa, for women to invest, but also women in SADC, so that they create consortiums to be able to go for that bid. When they say it's sold, because it must go out there, it must not go the way it went, because now we didn't even see the advert. We just heard that SAA was 51% was sold. So women need to work together and make sure that they compete. And also under AU, there is something on the single African air transport market, what it means for women to participate in all those. So you need to start being ready, because one day, as I said, that we will have specific sectors webinars where we'll request a department with its sector to talk to women here. We'll also request the same from other government departments, so that we present in order to empower women to be able to take or to get a share in every trade that happens in South Africa. Thank you, Rando. I know that you have to run. If there are questions, you said there are other people who are participating here, they'll be able to respond. Thank you very much. But be ready, we'll definitely come to you, because also there are issues of Cape to Cairo, fast train from Cape to Cairo. How do women prepare themselves to be able to participate? Because that discussion has been there for a long time. When that starts, women must be ready to participate and partake. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, I totally concur and agree with your comments. And that's why I continue to emphasize that we needed to get our house in order. There are a lot of pockets of things that are happening, but the way we're moving as individuals. And that's why now we are regrouping. And I'm glad that now you've also mentioned that we need to expand beyond the borders of South Africa and be able to empower and collaborate with the other women. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, back to the BRICS presentation. As Mapule was presenting, I thought of the BRICS summit in South Africa. The theme of the BRICS summit was BRICS and Africa. Partnership for mutually accelerated growth, sustainable development, and inclusive multilateralism. You know, I felt it was relevant to today, like this webinar from yesterday to today. Mapule, thank you so much for the presentation. I hope the countries that are here heard exactly, because also we are planning to have another webinar. We said we'll have few webinars so that we're able to have all 15 countries. I think also in terms of the skills development and sharing of skills and all those, we need also to have those seminars besides even going to Russia, but within the Southern African region, and have those competitions amongst the Southern African region, young persons, and develop them so that now when we go out to other countries, we go as a region. I think it was a very powerful presentation. I think Miss Lebuchang Zulu has not joined yet. I think she has a challenge. Has she joined? Okay. So,
DG, I see
pardon?
some questions on the chat.
Yes, I wanted to say we can go to questions. I wanted to see if she was here, but we'll allow questions if she's not here because I was going to take the questions after. So yes, if there are people who would like to ask questions, they can go ahead. And yes, others have put them on the chat. If you see them, you can respond to them, and then we'll note the hands after. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to start with the question. I think it's from, it says RSA All-In, but the question is about whether membership at the council is at a fee. And I thought, let me put this slide up, which I didn't form as part of my presentation. The structure of BRICS in a country is allowed by government, so it's not chargeable. It's meant to be voluntary. So we have various working groups, as you can see right there at the bottom, that's meant to represent or mimic the industries in a different country. And these won't be the last, because right now there's already 2 new industries that are proposed as working groups for the council. Now, what happens is after these working groups, the chairpersons of the different working groups would do a call out to experts that must come in to sit as advisory personnel to assist in driving the agenda of the different industry working groups. My working group sits at the bottom of all the working groups because, as you can imagine, we need to make sure that, be it in aviation, be it in space technology, we need to look and understand what do we have currently in the country from a scaling point of view. Do we have projects, small projects that are in the country but are servicing other countries? And we go out to those so that we can bring them in as specialists to assist us. That is why I was indicating that we don't do this alone. We do it with the a fora of support function. So no, ma'am, it's at the BRICS Business Council. There is no membership fee. You would call in to us that you want to belong to any of the represented working groups that are listed in there. The second question, can I move, Madam Chair?
Yes, answer all the questions that are on the chat, and then we'll call the hands after.
Yeah. Stop sharing. Okay, the other question was relating to access to the slides, and definitely I'm sending it to the department, and they have the data of, the people that are attending, and they can submit. I don't see, if I'm missing anybody else, please let me know, but I do see these hands. If you can assist me, TG, from your side.
Miss Lydia Maradu. Lydia.
Thank you, okay. DG. I want to be clarified on the skills passport. Maybe I didn't understand it, or I didn't hear the presenter. The question that I want to ask is, what is the difference between skills passport vis-a-vis the visa and the ordinary passport, and as and when the skills passport is utilized, and then who is eligible for the utilization of skills passport? And then, like recently, the Department of Women has taken the solar mamas to India for solar training. So I just want to, I wanted to understand if ever, was it possible for them to go there using skills passport? I don't understand this term skills passport. Okay. The other one is on the issue of BRICS. I don't know as to whether it's committees or what, but I saw BRICS youth council, BRICS, what council, but when it comes to women, it is not a council, but an alliance. So I just want to know why women don't have BRICS council, but they are called BRICS Business Women Alliance, but others are business councils. So can the presenters clarify me? I thank you, DG.
Before you respond, maybe let me give Auline again an opportunity to ask so that you can respond to both. Yes, Princess.
Thank you so much for that, DG. I just wanted to first thank you so much, Mapule, for answering the question about is there a fee that we need to pay to be part of the BRICS Council? I'm asking because of communication I got, but I'll also just verify with you based on the emails I received. And then I just want to also go back to the transport. Thank you so much, DG. Last year when I met you at the Third Men's Annual Conference, you said that we're going to do action. So thank you so much for this. I recently took a bold step of joining the transport industry because, you know, us, especially here in Mpumalanga, I'm sure you've seen also on the news across the board, there's been a rise in children being kidnapped. So a lot of, you know, parents were becoming a bit skeptical about male transport businesses. So what we did is that as females, let's come together and let us establish a school transport system where the parents know that it is females who are running it, females who are in the forefront. One thing that I want us to just all be aware of is the licensings, the permits that are needed. We need to ensure, which is why I'm so grateful, DGG, that you are encouraging us for the skills developments. It's very important for us to not just start and open the business and CIPC or SARS and you're happy. There's licensings that are very key. There's permits that you need before you can be moving up on the road. Because even taxi drivers themselves, they are able to stop us and question and say, how come you have these children? They want to interrogate us. They want to find out what exactly do we have, what permits do we have. So those are things we are facing, things that we are looking at right now. Even though the children are there, the market is big. Even the women right now are sharing amongst the communities that we are collecting all these children, but that fear of what are the taxi drivers going to say once we are there? Are we really, really permitted accordingly? There are associations we must be aware of as well. So those are key things we must just all look at as well when jumping into these male-dominated industries. Make sure your affiliations are in order. Make sure that you are fully aware that your payments are also in line with what you are being requested for. Thank you so much.
You can respond to that one. To Maradu. Hi, Mapule. You can respond to Maradu.
You are very low. I couldn't hear you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, DG. Let me tackle the first question around the skills passport and maybe try and explain it in simpler terms. So it's an initiative of the BRICS Skills Development Innovation Working Group. And the context behind it was that whilst we are working towards standardizing skills across the BRICS Plus, we felt it's necessary that we come out with a passport then that allows for anyone who qualifies. So you would have had to have gone through the BRICS curriculum, the standardization, the competitions to get the skills passport. You do not just apply to get it's almost like a test, and then you qualify it's a specialization. If you qualify for cybersecurity, for example, you get that passport for cybersecurity that allows you to take up any work opportunity project across the BRICS countries. Who then, you said, is eligible for that? It's the holders of that passport. Now, in South Africa, we are not yet there to accept, the BRICS countries coming into South Africa with a skills passport. As you can imagine, we have to go through DERCO, we have to go through Home Affairs, all the relevant ministries, and get that adopted as part of the BRICS plus bigger initiative. The council itself will be the one that submits that. But today, both Russia and China are cooperating across each other using the passport. We are utilizing MOUs for such cooperations and MOAs at the moment. When we get to that point, definitely the passport will be a document that a holder uses to go to another country, called for a job, or they having applied for a particular job and they qualified for them. Back to DG's note that the BRICS last year's forum was about multilateralism and equal sharing of opportunities. We called for that simply because we wanted to make sure that we circumvent such situations where we get people going to a particular country and nobody knows how or why, and we have a pool of qualified young people who have got qualifications that could do similar jobs in those spaces. For one, I hope that clarifies that. The second question I would have loved for Madam Chair from the BRICS women to have been here. However, in a nutshell, South Africa joined BRICS in 2013. That is why last year South Africa was celebrating 10 years of membership of the BRICS membership. And the BRICS Women Alliance was formed in 2017, yes. And that was after I visited Russia. So Russia raised that they need to have a focus on women issues, and we are very much in support of that. By the way, I'm as the chairperson for skills, I'm cutting across as well in the women's alliance. It's just a name, I'm not sure if it means because it's not a council, it's an alliance. It means it's lesser than that. I don't believe so. If Madam Chair is going to come, she probably would share with you the focus areas of the Women Alliance. They talk to all the focal points that at a country level we are focusing on, ensuring that women get their fair share of opportunities within the BRICS fora, specifically for women. Equally at the skilling level, it's to ensure that young women are given such opportunities. So I don't want to dwell too much into that one, but I can, as I say, BRICS Women Alliance, it's also, as I showed on the slide, is represented and it's recognized. Similarly, the BRICS youth as well. We had to take into cognizance how we are structured in this country. There needs to be a focus on the different areas that we as a country have always pushed that there must be an agenda for that, for women and for youth. So the Youth Council, which already exists, took the naming convention and just called it BRICS Youth Council.
To add on what you've said, as you've said that the BRICS, the skills passport is for a job. Even if somebody has a skills passport, they still need to have a passport and apply for a visa. So that's the difference, Ms. Maradu. You don't use the skills passport to go. That one is for the work. When you get there, you qualify to work, but you still need to have the visa of the countries from Home Affairs. Yeah, that is the difference. And then also the BRICS Women's Business Alliance, it is a gender unit of the BRICS Business Council, because previously it was a BRIC, like all the countries had a BRICS Business Councils. And then, as Madam Mapule has indicated, that they had to focus on women. So it's not a lesser, but it's to facilitate mainstreaming in all the other councils. But last year also, when South Africa hosted, we launched the a forum for, Ranji, what did we call it? Ministers? For ministers for women's issues, so that they can look at mainstreaming of women in all the other councils, and besides the BRIC Business Council, on every aspect of BRICS. Yeah, so it's not that because there's no women's council, ministers can't do what they're doing. On the issue of the transport, where women have started schools transport, we know the challenges. We've had meetings with Department of Transport, but also as a department, I heard Lesotho, when Lesotho was presenting, talking about them going to the taxi industries to talk to the taxi industries. With us, we talk to them, but also we've requested the National School of Government to train them on gender mainstreaming. So we've met with women within the taxi industry, who've requested us also to organize a summit on women in the taxi industry. They raise the issues. There are many issues that we've identified, and we know that if, there's no one who can just buy a car and say, I'm going to be involved. You have to register still with the taxi associations within that area. You have to pay the subscription fees that are being paid and all those things, but there are many challenges. So we are aware of that. As indicated to Rerando, that we will have a specific webinar on certain sectors or topics. Without wasting time, because I think we are really running out of time, can we just take 5 minutes leg stretch? But I would like to thank Mapule and to say we are still going to take this forward. The DGs from the other countries, we need to discuss to look at how do you then talk to them even on your own. As I said that earlier on, that the women in business are the ones that are going to take this thing forward. In future, we want them to invite us, saying all women in SADC, whether in energy or whatever, they are meeting, and then will come and attend. But they are the ones who will be able to take this forward. So even with this one on skills training and whatever, as a department, we'll definitely support you. We will make sure that you have access to all the DGs of the departments of women, so that they can be able to focus on this, because also we want to share the skills. Okay, let's just take 5 minutes. Meanwhile, we look at the next panel. Just a body break, 5 minutes, and then we'll come back. We have three presenters, so I think we'll be able to make it before 1:30. Thank you. going to facilitate or investment to women, for women to be able to build a nuclear plant. But first of all, we said we wanted to educate South Africans to understand why we had said we wanted to educate South Africans to understand why is nuclear important, because nuclear is not about what people are told. People who are paying people to go out there and oppose a nuclear plants are people who have their own agenda, because developed countries have got nuclear plants, some of them more than 2, some of them 3 and whatever. It is critical for development, for access to energy, but they buy people from underdeveloped countries to oppose the development of the nuclear plants. So I'm starting the politics, but she will talk about whatever that that Windsor is doing. It's women in nuclear South Africa, but also we have Ms. Pelisa Nkomo, chairperson of the economic pillar of Wekona. Wekona is the Women's Economic Assembly. I shall tell you what it does. It was launched by our president, and it's supposed to host annual meetings. Last year we couldn't hold the meeting because of the austerity measures and all those things, but she will talk. But also we have Ms. Kumo Ntlha, chairperson of WUSA. She will talk about the beautiful things that they are doing. And I also would like to understand the opportunities that exist in South Africa, but also the other countries. At some point when we host a seminar that is specific on energy and oil, we will talk about opportunities that exist in all 15 countries within the Southern African region, so that we can grow together, women can grow together and develop the region. And as we said when we started, the purpose of this meeting is so that we can facilitate networking opportunities and business opportunities for women within the Southern African region to be able to work, to know who's doing what where, to be able to work together, but also so that when the Secretary General of the AFCFTA hosts us in Ghana, we already have a program. We don't go there as individual countries, but we go there as a Southern African region together with other regions. Without wasting time, I would like to invite Ms. Pelisa Nkomo to talk about what Wekona is, what it is and what it's doing, what are the opportunities, and how they can share the experiences with other countries. Ms. Nkomo, you have 10 minutes. Thank you very much. She's not there. Oh, okay, they say Ms. Pelisa Nkomo is not here. We'll go straight to Ms. Tebogo Phahlane, who's the interim president of Windsor. I hope she's there. She's here. Okay, thank you very much.
I am here, Chair. Thank you so much. Let me just flash my video, just so that everyone can see me. Let's see. It's very bright where I am. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Chair and co-chair, thanks for the invite and the opportunity to come and share what Windsor is doing, and all protocol observed. My name is Tebogo Phahlane, and the interim president of Women in Nuclear South Africa. And I'm going to be presenting on what Windsor has been doing who we are and how we are connected to other organizations within our space, within our region in Africa and globally. So I'm gonna switch off my camera just to reserve bandwidth, and also I'm gonna flash my presentation. Thank you. Let me share. Okay. Okay. Share. Can you guys see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. As part of Women in Nuclear South Africa, basically how Women in Nuclear South Africa came to being is through the then DMRE, which recognized the need to mobilize and support the involvement of women in various nuclear-related fields within South Africa, and hence they went ahead and established what we know as WINSA. And our vision is to coordinate and facilitate the transformation in the nuclear. Just hold on, something is not. What happened? Can you guys still see my slides? Yes. So the aim is to coordinate and facilitate transformation in the nuclear industry through participation of women in the nuclear value chain, with the main objective of addressing underrepresentation of women within the nuclear industry. And how do we plan on doing that, or how are we going about doing that? By identifying opportunities for human resource development and training, and mostly targeting women and the girl child, particularly from previously disadvantaged groups. And then what we do, we interface with government and organs of state, industry role players, and institution of learning to advance human resource development. We also maintain a database of all women in the various nuclear fields within South Africa. And then we also associate with Worldwide Association of Women in Nuclear and contribute to public information participation in global WIN activities. We also establish corporate relations and liaison, as well as mechanisms, techniques, by sharing information and materials with organizations whose objectives complement ours. I'm going to briefly talk about the DMRE, who's our founding body. So the DMRE supports WINSA initiatives and women empowerment in the mining and energy sector. In August 2021, the DMRE Minister launched Women Empowerment and Gender Quality Strategy, which we call the WIG, depending on how you pronounce it. No master there. So this, the WIG, its purpose is to ensure active participation of women in the energy sector, ensuring equal rights, opportunities, and economic empowerment of South African women in the energy sector. The strategy has a 5-year implementation plan with specific deliverables. And the Energy Ministerial Advisory Council was appointed, which is to oversee and drive the implementation of WIG strategy across the energy sector, thus ensuring participation of both public and private companies. So WINSA is an affiliate of Women in Nuclear Global and Women in Nuclear Africa, which I will expatiate on or just highlight later on in my presentation. Continuing, as part of its action plan, WIN Global has created groups of experts with the intention to contribute to the sustainable development of the nuclear industry and to be a recognized actor. So WIN Global aims to identify a network of experts, a panel of skilled professionals with a wide experience and knowledge in different areas related to nuclear technology. And these expert groups include, not limited to these, but just to name a few: women in radiopharmaceutical sciences, women in nuclear security initiative, Women in Nuclear in Emergency Preparedness and Response, Women in Nuclear Medicine Initiative, Women in Nuclear Decommissioning Initiative, Women in Nuclear Innovation, and Women in Small Modular Reactors. So WINSA was also launched, had also launched Women in Nuclear Initiative within South Africa, and that was in 2022. And also WINSA launched what we call a Girls and Boys Club in the Northwest, which we are driving to cover all the other South African provinces. And as I mentioned, we're part of the mother body, which is Women in Nuclear Global, which is a nonprofit organization which is a nonprofit organization of women working professionally in various areas of nuclear energy and radiation applications. It was founded in November 1992. We have about 35 members and spans across about 145 countries, regions, and international organizations. And WIN Global has identified 3 action areas, which is climate change, gender equality, and young generation. Under climate change, we are an active member and a recognized actor in the climate crisis database, focused on environmental sustainability, public safety, and improvement of quality of life, committed to promoting the collective development of a new common sense about nuclear energy. We do so by demystifying radiation sciences and highlighting the benefits of nuclear technology, especially as part of the solution to the climate crisis and as a key element to achieve our sustainable development goals. Under the second actor, which is gender equality, we promote gender solidarity, diversity, and inclusivity as key cross-cutting values in all initiatives. As a unique intercultural association of skilled women in the nuclear sector, Women in Nuclear brings together different voices, insights, backgrounds, cultures, experiences, and abilities, which provides the basis for making ethically and technically sound decisions. And when it comes to the young generation, we are committed to creating bridges between generations and to building the future of the nuclear sector. And in doing so, WIN Global, together with the nuclear sector in 2021, launched the Young Generation Group. This group aims to actively contribute to the climate change and gender balance debates, knowledge and experience exchange between members and chapters, creation of partnerships, development and learning opportunities, and further boost the interest in nuclear engineering, science, and other nuclear-related professions. WIN Global Young Generation also supports innovative communication strategies using new technologies and social networks to promote accurate understanding and public awareness of nuclear science and technologies. And so WIN, which is WIN Global, has about 57 chapters across the world, and we span across 5 regions. And then from our WIN Africa, I'm going to focus on SADC. We've got about 6 countries, which is South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Namibia, Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And one of the most prominent chapter was the South African chapter, which also helped in the establishment of all these other African chapters that we see existing today. And our achievement as WINSA, just to name a few, we launched a group of expert initiative, like I mentioned in my previous slide, which is Women in Nuclear Security. We participated in the nuclear technology in BIZO. We also finalized our own strategic plans for the next 5 years. And then also one of the big milestones was signing of an agreement, a collaboration agreement with the energy and water sector, CETA. And then also we are on a continuous drive to support STEM programs for schools and offer internships within our different organizations. We stand up for nuclear. And one of the great achievements, one of our WINSA, our woman, Ms. Princess Ntomeni, won WIN Global's award for excellence. And that is one of the things that we should be proud of as women of South Africa in the SADC region. And also last year, we participated in WIN Global's 30th conference and also held our first ever annual meeting as WIN Africa. And what are our future plans? We plan on establishing other expert groups as needs arise and as we see fit, in collaboration, obviously, now with our African counterparts. We want to participate in the 2024 national, regional, and international women conferences. And also we want to see that the initiative for Windsor Girls and Boys Club gets to reach all of our South African provinces, and also probably can touch on to other SADC regions and our counterparts. And then just an update on what we've done as a chapter, or what we continuously keep doing as part of our operations. We hold monthly meetings, and then we have collaborative conferences with other science bodies like your synapse. And then our chapters also held a general assembly, joint general assemblies. And during these general assemblies, we provide feedback to members and voting new committees, and also share any other experiences that we might have within the different chapters. And then we have our Windsor biannual conferences and gala dinner. So that is what we do, just to bring our members together in a more relaxed environment, and as a way of awarding those who have been excellent in the different aspects of their work. And then what we also did, Windsor DMRE chapter visit in 2022, visited the NTP radioisotopes in Pelindaba there by Nexa. And the aim of the visit was to learn about radiopharmaceuticals and to tour the production facilities. And then we continuously support the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children. And then last year, we were in collaboration with the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, where we collaborated and under the theme Connect, Collaborate and Contract. And then Windsor, the Windsor Girls and Boys Club launch, as I've mentioned, was in 2022, and Windsor NNR and also our other chapters are ongoing on a quarterly basis, donating hygiene and sanitary packs to school girls and school boys as one of our initiatives to keep a girl and a boy child at school. So every quarter we give them a supply that is like 3 months supply. Then the next quarter we go back, we give 3 months supply. So we keep a girl and a boy child at school for the entire year. And then lastly, one of the last things I'm going to mention is that Windsor DMRE together with Synapse DMRE also visited NAVCO. And yeah, NAVCO is a uranium processing plant which is within our reach here in South Africa. And I think, yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Any questions? Thank you.
As I had said even before, that we had planned, but we didn't even continue with that, but we'll still work on that, to raise awareness on the benefits of nuclear, because there are people who are funding people to oppose the establishment of nuclear plant, and you've indicated earlier on in terms of the benefits, it's not just energy but health and others. So we'll give people an opportunity later to ask questions. We'll ask other panelists to present, and then the questions will be asked later. I think Miss Pelisa Nkomo is here, the chairperson of Wekona. I had already explained what it is earlier on. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, DG. And good afternoon, colleagues. I'm sorry I'm speaking under the forest. I will share my presentation with the speakers. So the theme that I've been assigned to, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, teacher.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So the theme that I've been assigned is to really talk about women in trade in the SADC region. So there are several points. So I'm going to deal with the issue of why it's important for women to be in trade, the challenges women are confronted with, the areas into which women participate in, and how to empower, women in trade. But also, fundamentally, I think the issue on the need to use existing instruments to make it sure that we move the needle further. As introduced earlier, my name is Pili Sankomo. I'm a development economist and I chair Pillar 5 on economic power. So the first point I want to make is that women-owned businesses are critical for gross domestic production in any economy, and particularly in the region. And data shows that women don't only fuel the economy, but also they actually represent almost 39.1% of the businesses within the region. And women play in spaces that only, that are kind of like really precarious in terms of trade, but also spaces or sectors that are hardly supported by government from a fiscal policy perspective. Women are street vendors, which is in the informal economy, right? Market economy, they are in the food related area with minimal participation in the manufactured goods, right? They are in the traveling sector and they're in either doing brokerage. So they're also quite dominant in the retail sector. So one of the key issues that we need to emphasize is that trade can improve the economic outcome of women's role in society, because it does not only create job opportunities, it increases wages, it facilitates expansion of market access, it lowers, it needs to be, part of an empowerment model, should also be ensuring that there is a lowering of cost of doing business to support women, particularly cross-border trade, and as well as facilitate fostering of entrepreneurship and innovation. And I do think that one of the key things we've seen, particularly in the SADC region, has been we've seen increase of movement of people. We've seen trade in as far as in particularly buying what we call consumer goods. But most of the consumer goods that are actually traded within the region are actually imported outside of the region. South Africa remains one of the biggest beneficiaries around trade and the movement of people. And South Africa remains the biggest beneficiary. Even some of the goods that are in the market within the South African economy are actually imported outside. What that signals, it signals several things. It signals, firstly, is that our trade policies as a region are not aligned. The second one is that our exports-led growth mechanisms are much more weaker. And then the third point is that our trade system is not supporting trading within the region. And the fourth issue I want to raise is that there's less allocation of resources from a fiscal perspective that supports a trade within the region. So the key question now is, how do we then leverage on the free trade agreement to make it sure that women-owned businesses actually benefit? I think the first issue that needs to happen, this one, it's at a national level, is that countries must invest and or provide financing for product development for women-owned businesses, because trade is driven by stronger national economies. And once stronger in national economies, what often happens is that women-owned businesses will see an opportunity to expand in the region. So as long as at a national government level or at a national level, which is a national country level, there's minimal investment on product development, there's always going to be minimal trade. The second component is to support businesses at a national level with infrastructure. The third one, it's around support for financing, and in addition to that is also skills training. Now, one of the issues around the trade agreement that we've been negotiating, I think recently, I think 2 years ago, we attended a very interesting conversation which was hosted by UN Women. Among the key issues that we are advancing was the first that is that rules of origins are going to be quite important, so that we know that whenever we're trading as the region, as the continent, we understand where the product comes from, but also we understand the components of the product, where the product is actually, meaning that if, for instance, I'm just going to make an example, take something that is quite complex, is that in the automotive sector, the automotive, to manufacture a car, it takes about, it's linked to 9 to 18 sectors of the economy. So if, for instance, out of those, 18 components that makes up a car, we need to know whether where the carpet came from, where the mat that is used in the car came from, where is the mirror came from, where is the lights came from, where is the doors came from, etc. Because then in that way, we're going to be able to gauge whether we're making progress or not. And on the back of that, you then build what we call disaggregated data to make it sure again, to see from a gender perspective, what is it that needs to be done and where some of these goods come from and who has manufactured them. On the back of that, still, women continue to confront other challenges in relation to participation in trade, besides the fact that there is there's a lack of an environment that supports trade within national economies that facilitate the actual regional trade. There are other social norms that actually inhibit women. Firstly, amongst those is it's family obligation, right? It's lack of opportunities, which I've actually highlighted, is being overlooked. So it's what we call conscious biases and unconscious biases. It's limited access to training. It's inadequate safety. For instance, in several regions, women tend to have to move their goods at night so that they are not subjected into the what we call compliance burden, which is the papers, for instance, of moving different goods. But also the other one is that women are expected sometimes when they're crossing borders with goods, is that they also have to pay by giving sex to males who are at the border gate to allow them to pass through. Women also face gender-based violence, which is they get raped when they're moving cross-border. So in essence, what the free trade agreement needs to look at, so it needs to actually take on a much more gendered approach, that it should not just look at the trading of goods, but also it must look at what other enabling aspects of trading that we need to look at, which facilitate gender inclusion. I mean, the other issue that we need to build in, which as I wrap up, is the issue of ensuring that part of the disclosure of rules of origins, that actually countries must then demand that, firms who are trading with each other or exporting to different countries needs to disclose either the gender composition of their firms, so that it's fully understood that the products that gets consumed across actually has facilitated some form of gender transformation. The both at the government level as well at a firm level, there needs to be a data collection that actually traces whether actually some of the goods that gets imported into different countries, whether in fact women have really been involved in their manufacturing. The last point, it's around particularly the manufacturing of consumption goods, because manufacturing of consumption goods facilitate a much more quicker regional integration, as we've seen in Europe. I mean, Europe, it's actually used as a model in as far as regional integration from a trade and economic perspective. And what that region has done amongst the key things is to make it sure that consumption goods, I mean, simple things like clothes, honey, durable goods and non-durable goods, which is, electronics, for example, furniture, etc. And part of the data is to just make it sure that we get the data of how many women that are actually employed in a particular firm, and so that in essence you get the data of understanding how much are you contributing into gender equality. With that, Chair, let me just pause and then I'll wait for any further questions. Thank you.
A protocol on trading on women and youth, and it's a long name, yeah. But I think the other thing that you've said about being aware how many women are crossing the borders and their products and all those things, but also them subjected to gender-based violence. I'm thinking that at the next webinar that we will focus on trade or whatever, we must bring in the border gate management agencies, so that we can talk to them in terms of mainstreaming gender in their documents and in terms of management and all those. But without wasting time, I would like to call, because there will be an opportunity to ask questions, I would like to call Ms. Ntakumo, chairperson of WUSA. And meanwhile she's logging on, I want to say something about her. I think it was in 2012 or 2013, I attended a workshop organized by Minister Ben Martins when he was still Minister of Energy. She said something, it never left my mind, Kumo, up until now. She said they got concessions in Northern Cape, gas concessions, and they wanted women, your ordinary women within that area, to benefit from that concessions. I think what women had to invest was 1,000 rand. But she said the way women are poverty stricken, many women were not able to invest the 1,000 rands. And it made me realize that women can't even use their money that they have for investment for themselves, because they have to raise children whose fathers are not paying maintenance and all those things. I think it's important when we look at trade and when we look at all those things in terms of how do we empower women and how maybe do we, I'm not saying this is what you're going to address, but I'm saying ever since I heard you say that, it had made me look at investments and trade and all those things from a different perspective. Thank you, Kumo, and thank you for participating today. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, DG, for those kind words. I am quite humbled by how you still remember what I said so many years back. I'm glad that what I said was not lost to you. So I am very cautious of time, and I would say all protocol observed. I want to salute all the women during this month of women in South Africa, and also heartily welcome the women from the region. As the gatekeepers of for getting access to you to raise concerns. Hello, there was some interference there. Yeah, I'm going to cut short my input, DG. I think what I liked about what was done yesterday was when the co-chair with you, the co-program director emphasized the importance of talking about solutions as opposed to problems. For someone like me who's been in the industry and who's been working on gender issues for more than 40 years, it's really very important that we don't repeat the same mantra of, lack of access to finance, lack of access to markets, lack of this, lack of that, and to actually begin to say, let's make the next 40 years about seeking solutions as opposed to, delving into the problems which are now escalating. The different speakers have talked about how, and you yourself have spoke about how even violence against women is increasing on a daily basis. So talking about these problems without looking at solutions is actually quite critical for us. I think we do have a website, and I have also forwarded our profile, which explains in detail who we are and what we do. There are just a few points that I want to highlight. One of them is the fact that our mandate as Women in Oil and Energy South Africa was to facilitate transformation within the energy sector broadly. And we started with an association which focused on a number of same issues that all the associations in business talked about yesterday. Sawima talked about it. Business Women Association also talked about those issues of training, of exposure. So I won't repeat those things because they are very, very similar. I think one of the biggest strategies for us around empowerment of women in the association was exposure. That is where we met Windsor, that's where we went to Nexa, where we went to operating ESCOM plants, to refineries like Sasol refinery, etc. So our emphasis was to demystify the energy sector and allow already women who are in business to have a glimpse of these sectors which were totally untransformed, and that these are areas where they can participate at many different levels. Because of the challenges that emerged with women not having the necessary resources to take up the opportunities within the energy sector, we then created an investment holding company, which the DG talked about, where currently we continue to raise money from our shareholders and continue to invest in untransformed entities with a view to transforming those entities. And one example that I would like to talk about is Yanda, which is one of our engineering companies, where we started off as a 15% shareholder, increased to 25% shareholder, and currently sit as a 52% shareholder, where we actually do control that business. So for us, that strategy was important because many of the projects within engineering, within energy, requires a lot of experience which people don't have. And so for us, the strategy was to actually go into an existing company and, slowly, increase our capability to participate in there and then to have control in the end. So we are very proud of that journey because through it we learned a lot. So that when we looked at the maritime space, when we looked at shipping specifically and saw how untransformed it was, we also needed to look at where would the entry point be. And the entry point, became available when there was a stock exchange listed company that was for sale, and we raised 10 million rands from our shareholders, and we invested in shipping, which allowed us to go into that space. So we are gradually beginning to enforce or advocate for transformation within that sector. As WUSA, we've had several meetings with women who are involved in the maritime sector, and have shared experiences on how we build our organization and how we build our investment company. So we continue to go into, territories that are extremely difficult, unreformed, and we need support, obviously, to go into those spaces. There's been many, many challenges that have already been mentioned. One of the things that I didn't hear being mentioned, DG, is the fact that, South Africa generally has very good policies. I think that there are very few arguments that can be put forward on the policies that we have in the various departments within South African government. A lot of women's groups have lobbied for change, have lobbied for set aside for women, and most companies today will actually set aside projects and investments and opportunities for women. So the challenge now is how ready the women are to take up those challenges. It's one thing to demand that the energy sector should be 50% female owned. It's another to go on the ground and find out how many women actually are ready to take up those spaces. So for us, following many attempts of going into those spaces, decided that the best way, one of the best ways, is to have an operating business. This operating business allows us to start our own businesses, to grow within our own business, and to expand and to contribute towards the growth of the economy in general. And the way we do it has always been in collaboration and partnership with, for example, the UN Women has supported us. We identify the needs of our members. We also identify what the government is seeking to achieve within the energy sector, and we marry the two so that all our activities and interventions are actually linked towards outcomes that are tangible and measurable. For example, around renewable energy, we've had training together with UN Women for our members, and we did invite other women as well to expose them to what it is to be involved in a renewable. What does it take to be involved in a solar plant, and how do you go into the business of energy generation? We have experience of the hydro, how we went into hydro. So currently our focus on renewable is on solar specifically. We looked at what the government wanted to do, and there was a time when the Department of Energy announced in Parliament that they were looking to do 1 million solar geysers within a 5-year period. And for us, that was an opportunity. And we made sure that we partnered with a SETA. We also identified an experienced business in South Africa, and we together created a training program where we trained especially young people and women around solar geyser installations. And then we began to say, how do we benefit as an organization and also as individuals who are trained? So we set up an operating company where we now do solar installations. We respond like everybody else to tenders, and we are in that space. So information sharing and and some of the information that came out today for us is very critical, because that is how we identify practical, doable, manageable, measurable investments that we go into. So we've had many challenges. As I said, the policies are in place. The critical issue, DG, is that monitoring of the implementation of those policies is a problem. If we use the REAP program, for example, a program run by the DMRE, that program requires that every winner of any bid around generation of electricity has to make sure that there are women within the company. It also has to make sure that there is local input. Localization is important. And also there has to be a certain monetary spend within the local area where the project is located. Now, in our experience, in our attempt to follow through with our strategy, we follow these IPPs. We want to see what they are doing, how they are spending money. We engage them. Some of them, we've done some projects together with them, but by and large, there's resistance, and simply because those promises were actually never implemented, and the monitoring of those projects is not happening. An example is one of the mining companies in Rustenburg. They told us that their annual spend for social investment was 100 million rands per year. And our argument with them was, if you gave anybody 100 million within a poor area within Rustenburg, the change, the impact would be visible. So the question is, how do you actually spend that money? And so you can imagine that was the end of the discussions. And so what we would require from yourself, DG, and your department would be how we can collaborate to ensure that we monitor the policies that are already in place to ensure that we achieve all the beautiful goals that people have talked about. And I think one of the issues that I want to raise as challenges for us, including what people have been saying here, is that we need to be collaborating, working together across the borders. The BEE, triple BEE legislation in the country has actually been a stumbling block in terms of working with people across the borders. For example, if we've had instances where we established a company that included women from Botswana and Zimbabwe. So when it comes to the calculation of the scorecard, those women were, they were actually not considered for the score. So our scoring became low because of that. The BEE is very good for us for only local businesses, but going across the borders, I think we would need to carefully look at how that impacts on even access to finance. I think one of the achievements that we've had at WUSA has been to sit around a table with more than 12 financial institutions and talk about where the blockages are. Why is it that women are not accessing finance? And this initiative was driven by DBSA, DBSA being a partner to WUSA, where they have financed our hydro project. And those discussions were very important because they highlighted the fact that, you can wish as much as you can that there will be access by women to finance, but basically you need to look like any other company to access finance, and they will not take your conditions into account, etc., etc. I think the good thing is that those discussions should be ongoing. They should be supported. They should be encouraged, because there was a lot of sympathy and understanding from the financial institutions. And this year, APSA did the same thing, where we sat with funding institutions and a few women-owned companies, and we looked at financing. So DG, we would like support around those issues to say, how do we take these discussions further, and how do we ensure that at a practical level we achieve what we want to achieve. And in our previous first 10 years of establishment, we also reached out to women in Zimbabwe and women in Botswana. We invited them to South Africa to our conferences, and then we visited them in their countries to share with them how they could establish a network or an association of women in energy. So we were very proud to launch Zimbabwe Women in Energy a few years ago. Botswana failed along the way, but just pre-COVID, we were resuscitating the discussions. And I think it was mentioned yesterday that one of the critical issues around associations is who funds an association. I mean, people talk about empowering the poor of the poorest in the rural areas. For example, as an organization, we are in all the 9 provinces, but I can tell you now we have only 3 members in the Northern Cape, simply because the Northern Cape is so far and it's so expensive to travel to the Northern Cape. And yet this is where a lot of energy projects are, and a big opportunity exists for women there, but they don't have the support that they could get from an association, because we simply cannot afford to do that. Also, we've tended to invest in the energy sector, where it's very costly to invest. For our entry into the maritime space, to buy a bunkering company, we needed 300 million. We could only raise 10 million. So you can imagine that we had to borrow all that money. And now we are busy paying off the interest, and only God knows when we will actually see money flowing towards our shareholders. I think in conclusion, Chair, I would like to say that I liked what you said when you said we should stop talking about the Africa we want and talk about the Africa we want to create. I'm 100% with you in that endeavor, that, together let's create our own. Thank you very much.
Closing with a bang. I'm so excited. Okay, before I say many things, let me allow people who want to ask questions to ask questions, so that I don't take away from them. Do you see hands? Or wow. I think this is one of the best practice model that if we go out from here, we'll say we've shared something that makes women to come with their own chair and put it here, rather than wait to be given a chair. We've been talking about women bringing their armchair. This is exactly what WUSA has done. To even buy companies that are already existing in order to be able to put the food on the floor. I think the topics of today, people who were here yesterday who didn't come today, they've really missed out. From yesterday, I think I have a long list of things that I would like to say or to recap on, but I don't want to read so many things. I just want to indicate that the BRICS theme still bears reference today. BRICS and Africa. And when we say Africa, we look at all the 5 regions. We look at the AFCFTA, we look at SADC, we look at AU, we look at everyone. Partnership for mutually accelerated growth, sustainable development, and inclusive multilateralism. I think when we host a workshop next time, when we host a webinar or physical meeting, we must make sure that we expand on this on this theme. I would like to find out, is Ms. Namhla Nikki in? My co-chair was committed somewhere, so that's why I've been chairing. Okay, she's not yet here. Yesterday, when we started, we indicated that we want to look at practical, actionable things that we can do to ensure that women in business and women who are not in business yet, but whom we want to be in business after that, to work on or to learn so that women can be economically empowered. And yes, there was a question by a gentleman yesterday that why are we focusing on women, whatever. The purpose was to focus on women. There are many things that are being planned, not just in South Africa, in the entire region, which involves men, but this one is specific in order to involve women. We've indicated that there are other programs that we're working on, specifically on young persons. There's a program that we call Nelson Mandela Youth Dialogue, which, and now we have funding for that. It's being managed by NYDA, but we've got funding where we invite young persons from Africa to come and dialogue. The biggest purpose of that is to promote peace and security in our country, because young persons are used sometimes to be the ones that are perpetuating war, but also we're trying to facilitate networking so that if they want to start businesses and all those things, they can be able to start those businesses. With that one, fortunately, because we've got funding, they will be coming physically, even for training. They will be attending training programs. We've identified some of the universities that will be hosting them. It's one of the aspects that we're looking at. And then we were looking at sharing skills. There was a presentation today about skills, like as in technical skills, so that as Africa, we can, as a continent, we can be able to compete with other continents. And there was a suggestion yesterday. We've already started working on it. That why don't we look at a satellite to reduce the costs of data? There was a meeting today from my department with a Department of Science and Innovation, and that topic has already been shared with them. They said they'll start looking at that. There are many things that we can share, and as we indicated that we would like another country, I tried to check if my colleague from Zimbabwe, the permanent secretary of Zimbabwe, was present. Earlier on, she was not here. I'm not sure if she's here now, because we would have loved one permanent secretary to commit today that they will host next week, because we want, not next week, next month. What we want all countries within the Southern African region to host and to participate and invite women in businesses in their countries so that they can share. As we indicated earlier on, also to share opportunities that exist. As Kumo has said that they met with the banks, and the banks were saying, we're not going to give you money because you are women. And yet our banks know the history of South Africa in terms of discriminating against women. But what we're going to do, we're not going to sit down or complain, as Kumo had said, that complaining won't help us, we need solutions. That's why we're saying as the Southern African the Southern African region, we need to look at, some women can access the funds, but you'll find that there are no opportunities. So those that can access funds, let them invest in businesses of women in South Africa and let them be shareholders in those businesses. That's how we're going to grow, but also it gives them an opportunity. One day when there's an opportunity in their country, they'll be able to come in. Kumo spoke about maritime. As a department, we have already started looking at how young persons can be trained. And also when she spoke about training on solar installations, we sent women, young women, 23 young women to India without knowing that WUSA is already doing that. So I was saying, as we were talking, I was saying to the chief director in the Economic Empowerment Unit that they need to talk to you, because we still have other young persons that need to be trained, rather than sending young persons to India, that they can be trained here in South Africa, and in that way we'll be able to train many more young persons rather than sending them to India. But also we've been looking at training young persons in maritime. We're already into maritime because we're signing bilaterals with other countries. Panama said we can send 10,000 young persons to their ships in Panama to be able to practically now do the work. They said, no, you train them, but then you can send them. We've been looking at Turkey, we've been looking at Finland and other countries. So we need to work together and strategize. Also the issue of the IPPs. We've been talking to science and innovation again, that them and DMRE need to help us as a department in order for us to be able to monitor the implementation of the IPPs with regard to benefits to women, youth, and persons with disabilities. So this is something that we can work together on. But this is an experience that we can share with other countries that are within SADC in terms of how can they implement the same policies that we're implementing in South Africa for countries that are coming from outside to implement these programs in their countries. So I think there is a lot that we can share, or that was discussed yesterday. Starting off the plant for fertilizers, we still want to do that, but there are many companies that we can work on. As I had said when I started, we want to convene the next webinar. Most probably, maybe not September, because September is near. Maybe we can host the next webinar in October. But as South Africa, because someone said, virtual yes work, but sometimes we need all these countries to be here. So we will work with the permanent secretaries or DGs of these 15 departments. If they agree, or when they agree, in November, during the 16 days, we can host these countries physically in South Africa. But it's something that we need to discuss, or it's a resolution that can be taken from here. So that would be the physical, but we still need another country. When I spoke to the permanent secretary of Zimbabwe, she had offered, but she's not here now, so I'm not sure which country can host the webinar like this, so that they facilitate also from their country, so that we can hear what they are doing. As we had said, that South Africa is facilitating the practical strategies and tactics for women empowerment. It's not replacing SADC Secretariat or taking over from Zimbabwe, which is the current chair. But the other thing that we've agreed on was that we'd like to exchange, or to create databases and exchange those databases that would also be on sector a basis, so that women in oil and energy, when they click, they go straight to women in oil and energy in other Southern African regions. Women in construction, there's a lot of construction. Let women be able to come together. All of them are talking about finances, which is a challenge. Some have the expertise, but some may be able to access the finances in order to be able to work together. Now we have not developed the plan of action, but it's one thing that at the next webinar we need to look at, because different countries need to come up with a plan of action of theirs, so that we can be able to put it together. The last one that I want to say is that I repeat what I said earlier on. AFCFTA has agreed to host us. We have asked them as South Africa to host us. We indicated that we wanted them to host us with other countries within the continent, but we've realized that if we go there without having come together and strategize, we will go there and be haphazard and go individually. The Secretary General of the AFCFTA promised to bring the Afrexim Bank, and then we will ask him to bring the BRICS Bank. So it will be critical that when they host us, we already have programs that we've looked at that we want further investment. So that is one of the purposes of the meetings, but not the only. We will be sharing training, we'll have different webinars that are training women on customs and whatever. For example, within Southern Africa, we have SACU, which is South African Customs Union, which allows certain countries within the Southern African region to trade with South Africa or to trade amongst themselves without having to pay the customs and all those things. So it's important that we use these things. And what Kumo has said about the BEE, the importance of this webinar is so that also we can look at challenges within policy so that we can start lobbying for policy amendments. Thank you very much. I was just summarizing just a little bit. But we will send the report, we'll circulate the report from this webinar. I would like to request member states that are still represented, just in a minute or 2 minutes each, to say something. And I would like to thank them for participating. Do we have someone from Angola? Are they here? Yesterday they had a challenge with the translation. Okay, if we don't have Angola, Botswana, do we have someone from Botswana who can say something in 2 minutes? Okay, it seems as if they're not here. Zimbabwe, besides the permanent secretary, there were others who had attended. Zambia, Eswatini, Madagascar. Okay, then without them saying something, I would like to thank all of you and to indicate that we will submit the report and we will communicate the next country that will host the next webinar. We will also communicate about the physical meeting in South Africa in November. But also I would like to announce upfront that our minister agreed with China, an organization of women in China, to host a conference on the 15th of November. We'll communicate with you because they want us to invite countries in Africa and to invite women in businesses in South Africa. So we will communicate with you. Please look out for this information. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope this is the beginning of a well that will flow throughout Africa, not just in the Southern African region, but once we're established, we'll be able to coordinate with all the regions within the continent. The whole of Africa needs to develop in order for us to be strong and for us to be able to withstand whatever impact that is trying to affect our inflation. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.